Chapter 1104. Song Huawu was completely flustered. If it were not for Xiao Chen, she would not have shown her weak side in front of Hong Zhu at all. I hope it's not like what you said. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. As far as I know, the situation in the internal martial arts circle is quite complicated. There are many factions and masters. If Xiao Chen is really taken away, I'm afraid he will be in danger. Hong Zhu frowned slightly and was also a little worried. She had also considered this before. Therefore, after receiving this task, she took the initiative to come here to cooperate with this investigation. She also wanted to find out the whereabouts of Xiao Chen. After the two women chatted for a while, the door of the conference room was opened. Vice President Nian entered with the people of the Internal Martial Arts Guild. The two women stopped chatting and took their seats. They began to seriously discuss the content of this cooperation. However, this discussion did not have much effect, because the Internal Martial Arts Guild could play a very small role. It was so small that it was unexpected. It basically could not play any help in this investigation. The reason was also very simple. Compared with the external martial arts circle and the secular world, the power and influence of the Internal Martial Arts Guild was extremely small. Usually, no one would care about its voice. In the Internal Martial Arts circle, the families and sects did their own things. Moreover, each had their own backing. They were generally overbearing and fierce. They talked with their fists and usually did not listen to the management of the Martial Arts Guild. Although the Internal Martial Arts Guild was very helpless about this situation, they also understood that the reason was that they were not strong enough. Although they had a few venerables, it was useless. In case of a major evil incident, they could do nothing but stand out weakly and mediate in the middle. In the hall of the Secular Martial Arts Guild, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao waited in the villa for a few days, but they did not receive Hong Zhu's call. After a discussion, they simply drove to the Martial Arts Guild to see if they could find any information there. To their surprise, as soon as they walked into the hall of the Martial Arts Guild, they saw a red notice flashing conspicuously on the task-issuing screen. The two of them took a closer look and realized that it was actually a warning. It was a warning to all cultivators to be more careful when they were doing their missions. Currently, many cultivators have inexplicably disappeared, and their whereabouts have not yet been found. It is possible that there is an evil force behind this, so please pay more attention. Under the announcement, the list of people who had gone missing was scrolling. The two women turned pale with fright and had a bad feeling in their hearts. Did Xiao Chen also go missing? They hurried to the screen and stared at the name list for a while. After scrolling through all the names, they confirmed that they did not see Xiao Chen's name. The two of them heaved a long sigh of relief, but they were still a little worried. After discussing for a while, they decided to go to the Martial Arts Guild in the outer world to inquire about the news. Originally, Jin Beibei intended to go by herself, but Xiao Xiao insisted on going with her. Jin Beibei listed various dangers, but she still couldn't convince Xiao Xiao. In the end, she had no choice but to agree. Although Jin Beibei was taking Xiao Xiao with her, she was still a little worried. The outer martial arts guild was quite far away. If they ran into something unexpected on the way, such as the inexplicable disappearance that was mentioned in the announcement, she might be able to run away. However, Xiao Xiao was too weak and could not escape unscathed. Let's just take one step at a time. Thankfully, Jin Beibei's worries were in vain this time. The journey to the outer martial arts guild was relatively smooth. The two women reached the outer martial arts guild without meeting any obstacles. After they got off the car, the two women hurried to the guild. However, they were stopped by the guards before they reached the office area. Hey! Stop right there. What are you two doing here? Don't you know that only staff members are allowed to enter this place? A tall guard stood in front of the two women and made a stop gesture. He glared at Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao and yelled, Sir, we have something very important that we need to talk to your manager. Could you please make an exception and let us in? Xiao was startled by the unexpected roar. She was a little scared, but she still summoned her courage and spoke carefully. What is it? The people in the Outer Martial Arts Guild are very busy. Don't come here for every trivial matter. The tall guard was going to drive them away directly, but he still asked after thinking for a moment. What if they really knew a big leader? In that case, wouldn't he have offended all of them? Here's the thing. My brother, Xiaofan, is also a cultivator. He has been missing for more than a year. Right now, our whole family is very anxious. Xiao was refreshed. It seemed that there was hope. She hurried to explain. Psycho. What does your brother's disappearance have to do with the Outer Martial Arts Guild? It's not like we made them disappear. Before Xiao could finish, the tall guard immediately interrupted her impatiently. I thought that you might be looking for a big leader, but it turns out that you are looking for a missing person. You made me waste so much time talking. Huh? But, well. Xiao still wanted to argue, but the tall guard immediately waved his hands and said straightforwardly, all right, cut the crap. If you want to find someone, go to the counter in front to register and then go home and wait for the notification. After that, the tall guard rolled his eyes at the two women and mumbled in a voice that the two of them could hear, he has been missing for more than a year, and you only remembered to look for him now? What have you been doing before? Hey. Don't you know how to chat, huh? My cousin-in-law, Xiaofan, is a very awesome person. Everyone else respected him very much. Now that he has gone missing without a good reason, of course, the Outer Martial Arts Guild is responsible for looking for him. How can it have nothing to do with you? Jean Bebe rolled her eyes at the guard and protested in dissatisfaction. She had been trying to figure out a way to teach the arrogant guard a lesson. However, she felt that they were in somebody else's territory, and the two girls would certainly be at a disadvantage if they made a fuss. Eventually, she gave up the idea. All right. Cut the nonsense. If he is so awesome, how could he have gone missing? Don't mess around here. Otherwise, I will arrest all of you. Just go now. The tall guard was almost amused by Jean Bebe's bandit logic. He estimated that the two girls did not know the rules, either. Therefore, he simply rolled his eyes and ignored them. Jean Bebe and Xiao were still trying to argue for something when they suddenly saw a middle-aged man walking out of the meeting room from the gate behind the tall guard, followed by a bunch of people. They were immediately shocked and looked at each other in bewilderment. Knowing that it was not good, they stepped back quickly, thinking that they were really going to be arrested. Chapter 1105. What's going on outside? Why is it so noisy? Don't you know that an important meeting is going on inside? The middle-aged man who walked out was exactly Vice President Nian. He frowned and asked. As it turned out, they happened to be having a meeting on the investigation of the missing cultivators. Because of the weakness of the Martial Arts Guild, the meeting was in an impasse. Everybody racked their brains but could not come up with a solution. Then, they heard noises outside. No longer in the mood to continue the meeting, they simply came out to check the situation. Vice President Nian, it's the two crazy girls who are causing trouble. They claim that they are looking for an unaffiliated cultivator named Xiaofan. After I asked them, I learned that he has been missing for more than a year. Therefore, I asked them to register at the counter in front, but they refused and kept pestering us for a while. I haven't had time to deal with them yet. I'm very sorry for interrupting your meeting. I'll drive them away right now. The tall guard was also shocked and hurried to report respectfully. Hardly had he finished his report when the tall guard immediately turned around and began to drive Jean Bebe and Xiao away like an eagle chasing away chicks. The two girls had alarmed Vice President Nian. If he did not take care of them soon, he would be screwed if his salary was deducted later. Wait. Vice President Nian suddenly waved her hands and stopped the tall guard from driving them away. Scratching her chin, she mumbled, deep in thought, Xiaochen. The name sounds familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere before. But I can't recall it now. Hongzhu and Song Huawu had been standing at the back of the crowd. After hearing the name of Xiaochen being mentioned, they looked at each other and walked to the front of the crowd at the same time. Coming to the front, Song Huawu and Hongzhu were dazed when they saw Jin Beibei and Xiao Zhao's faces. They searched their memories, only to discover that they had absolutely no impression of the two of them. Song Huawu thought for a moment and asked first, "May I ask, who are you to Xiaochen?" Looking at the two beauties in front of her, who each had their own characteristics, Song Huawu felt that there was something weird in her heart. She did not know what was going on. "Oh. My name is Jin Beibei. I am from the Jin family in the secular world. Xiaochen is my cousin-in-law." Although she did not know Song Huawu, Jin Beibei's intuition told her that the person was quite friendly and did not seem malicious. Therefore, she introduced herself first. Then, she pointed at Xiao Xiao and said, "She is Xiao Xiao from the Xiao family in the secular world. She is Xiao Chen's sister." "Oh, right. I remember now. The Xiao Chen of the Xiao family. Back then, I even helped Xiao Chen and Cheng Menjing's marriage as a peacemaker. No wonder this name sounds so familiar. I'm getting old and forgetful." Vice President Nian slapped her thigh and said with a look of realization. That's right, that's right. Cheng Menjing is my cousin. I'm her cousin." Jin Beibei was overjoyed. She hurried to add, "We are here for my cousin-in-law, but the guy at the door is not letting us in." The tall guard was sweating hard. He did not expect that the two crazy girls would be familiar with the person they were looking for, even though they did not know the leader. He was screwed. His future was in danger. "Well, according to the rules of the guild, I am only following." The tall guard was going to explain, but he stammered so hard that he could barely finish his sentence. Vice President Nian glared at him. Then, she turned around and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, ladies. Since a lot of cultivators from the secular world and the foreign martial arts world have gone missing recently, we are still investigating. But there is nothing we can do right now. It is our duty to be a guard. Please don't take it to heart. Just go and register yourself according to the rules first. Leave the rest to us." "Okay." Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. Knowing that they would not get any information this time, they nodded gloomily and turned around, ready to go to the lobby outside to register. "Hey, you two, wait a moment." Hongzhu had been waiting for Song Huawu to talk, but she seemed to be in a daze, as if she were thinking about something. Therefore, he could only stop Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao. After stopping the two girls, Hongzhu turned around and said, "Vice President Nian, I already know who Jin Beibei is. You can go back to your meeting first. Leave the rest to me. I'll take care of everything." After hearing Jin Beibei's introduction, Hongzhu suddenly remembered that a message had been sent from Little Hong's pharmacy a few days ago, saying that a person named Jin Beibei had come to inquire about Xiao Chen and asked her to call back when she was free. Although Hongzhu was also looking for Xiao Chen, she did not know Jin Beibei, nor did she understand the relationship between Jin Beibei and Xiao Chen. Therefore, she did not take it to heart and forgot to call Jin Beibei back. She only remembered when she heard the name. Jin Beibei blinked and eyed Hongzhu up and down in confusion. Although she had heard of Hongzhu's name before, she had never met the guy in person. Therefore, she did not know who the charming girl with the gentle voice in front of her was. Therefore, when Hongzhu and Vice President Nian mentioned that they knew each other, Jin Beibei could not help but feel that it was odd. However, since she had volunteered to help, she must know something about her cousin-in-law. Naturally, Jin Beibei would not raise any questions right away. Instead, she wisely chose to remain silent. "All right. We'll go in now. You can come back to the meeting after you're done here. Vice President Nian nodded and did not think too much about it. She turned around and led her people into the meeting room. After seeing off Vice President Nian, Hongzhu turned around and said to Jean Beibei, "Ladies, please wait in the lobby for a while. Song Huawu and I are in a meeting. We will come to discuss Xiao Chen with you immediately after we're done. Is that okay?" "Okay. Then, Xiao and I will go and get something to eat first. After a day's journey, Beibei is about to pass out from hunger." Jean Beibei hurried to nod her head. She touched her flat belly and exclaimed in joy. She and Xiao had planned to find a place to eat on the way, but the mountain road was too rugged for them to find a decent restaurant. Therefore, they had been starving until now. That's fine too. There's a restaurant right next door. You can go there and eat first. We will go there immediately after the meeting is done. Hongzhu nodded. He left Jean Beibei's and Xiao's phone numbers carefully before he turned around and walked into the meeting room. Song Huawu smiled and nodded at the two of them. She then looked at Jean Beibei thoughtfully before she turned around and followed Hongzhu into the meeting room. After Hongzhu and Xiao were gone, Jean Beibei and Xiao pursed their lips at the embarrassed tall guard. Not wanting to talk to him anymore, they turned around and left the Guild of External Martial Arts Society for a meal in a restaurant. Chapter 1106. The heated discussion in the meeting room lasted for more than an hour, but no conclusion was reached in the end. They only speculated that the disappearance of the cultivators must have been done by a certain family or sect in the internal martial arts world. The reason was exactly the same as Xia Zhili's speculation. As for the rescue plan, they discussed it for a long time but failed to come to a decision. After all, everybody was well aware of the dangers of the internal martial arts world. Therefore, nobody was willing to go. The meeting fell into an impasse again. Therefore, they could only end the meeting in a hurry and wait for the follow-up meeting to resolve the issue. After the meeting was over, Song Huawu and Hongzhu went to the tavern next door and found Jean Beibei and Xiao. Looking at the leftovers on the table, the two of them were not too bothered. After all, they were not there to eat. They simply sat down and ordered something to fill their stomachs. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Song Huawu opened her mouth and said, "Sorry to have kept you waiting." Xiao wiped her mouth with a napkin. Looking at the mess on the table, she said in embarrassment, "It's all right. We've just finished eating, too." The two of them were truly starving. That was why they had eaten so much food in a row. Jean Beibei glanced at Hongzhu and asked in a somewhat vigilant manner, "Miss, may I ask how you know me? If I remember correctly, this is the first time we've met each other, isn't it?" "Right, what's the relationship between you and my cousin-in-law? It seems that you are very familiar with him." "Well, who is your cousin-in-law?" Hongzhu lowered his head and had some porridge. He felt refreshed. When Jean Beibei's cousin-in-law suddenly popped into his ears, he did not realize what was going on. He was dazed for a moment and asked back subconsciously. He. Don't take it to heart, sister. Beibei likes to fool around." Xiao smiled casually and hurried to explain. "The cousin-in-law she mentioned is my brother. We are looking for Xiao Chen. I wonder, how did you two beautiful sisters know Xiao Chen?" "Oh, I almost forgot. I haven't asked for the names of the two sisters." "Oh, my name is Hongzhu." Hongzhu shrugged and finished the porridge in the bowl. Then, he looked at Jean Beibei and said apologetically, "A few days ago, a subordinate of mine in the mortal world reported to me that a girl named Jean Beibei had come to Little Hong's pharmacy and wanted to talk to me about something important. However, I was rather busy at that time, and the name Jean Beibei did not ring a bell. Therefore, I put it aside and did not have the time to pay attention to it. I only remembered it after I heard it today." "Oh, so you're Hongzhu. I was wondering how you knew me." Jean Bebe pursed her lips and grumbled a little unhappily, but you are too proud. I went to the pharmacy to leave you a message, but you didn't even reply to me. If Xiao and I didn't take the initiative to find you, we probably wouldn't have met. Hongzhu smiled and said, I'm sorry. It's just that too many things have happened over the past few days. As you all saw just now, we've been in a meeting for so long that we really haven't been able to take care of everything. Forget it. Bebe is very magnanimous. Jean Bebe waved her hands casually. Although Hongzhu's explanation was not satisfactory, Jean Bebe did not want to argue with him anymore. After all, finding Xiaochen was the most important thing right now. Seeing that the introduction had come to an end, Xiao looked at Song Huawu, who had just finished the porridge, and asked, How should I address you, sister? I'm Song Huawu from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. I used to be a partner with Xiaochen. I wonder, has he ever mentioned me as his girlfriend to you? Although Song Huawu's tone was rather plain, there was a hint of pride in it. Her eyes had never left Jean Bebe and Xiao's faces. She was staring at them closely. Although Song Huawu had never heard Xiaochen mention other women before, her woman's intuition told her that the two girls in front of her must have a complicated relationship with Xiaochen. Jean Bebe, in particular, was very happy every time Xiaochen's name was mentioned. She was smiling so brightly that her face was almost blooming. She looked rather suspicious. As for Xiao, Song Huawu felt that since she was Xiaochen's younger sister, she should not have any ambiguous relationship with Xiaochen. After all, they were family and related by blood. How could she do such an unethical thing? In fact, Song Huawu was not being petty. She just felt that the women around Xiaochen were all beauties and of high quality. Although she did not think that Xiaochen would dislike the old or favor one woman over the other, she was still worried that her position in Xiaochen's heart might be significantly lowered. Ow! Ow! My cousin-in-law is so awesome. You can even win over such a beautiful sister. If cousin Menjing learns about it, she will probably be driven mad. Hee. Jean Bebe could not have been more excited. She was laughing so hard that her eyes almost disappeared. She could not help but secretly compare Cheng Menjing and Song Huawu. However, no matter how she compared them, Jean Bebe still could not tell who was better. She felt that the two of them seemed to have their own specialties and were on par with each other. However, Song Huawu seemed to be more mature and charming. Sister Bebe, we are talking about serious business right now. Can you not talk about such heartless things? Xiao looked at Jean Bebe helplessly. She was somewhat upset. She had obviously been triggered by the word girlfriend that Song Huawu had mentioned. However, Xiao's emotional fluctuation did not escape Song Huawu and Hongzhu's eyes. After looking at each other, they both understood what was on each other's mind. Therefore, they did not intend to pursue the topic further. After all, they were not in the right place, and it was not the right time to talk about such things. However, what secretly surprised Song Huawu was that Xiao was Xiaochen's younger sister, wasn't she? Was she in love with him, too? Wasn't it a bit inappropriate? Was there more to it than meets the eye? Well, if you don't want to talk about it, I won't talk about it. Jean Bebe scratched her nose in boredom. She glanced at Xiao, feeling somewhat suspicious, too. Sister Hongzhu, Sister Huawu, may I ask if you've seen my brother recently? Xiao shook her head as she cast aside those unpleasant thoughts and asked with an anxious expression. Song Huawu shook her head and answered helplessly, I haven't seen him for more than a year, and Hongzhu even longer. So, we are both looking for him, too. Xiao's face immediately fell. She said gloomily, my grandpa and my father are dying of anxiety. They have been looking for my brother for almost a year. Other than the news that he was hunted by the Kuei Mountain sect and that Mabuchio, the leader of the Kuei Mountain sect, fell to his death in Lan City, there is no other news about Xiaochen. That's the same information on our side. It seems that the news about Xiaochen in the secular world stopped abruptly after that part. Song Huawu slightly frowned. Everybody's information seemed to be more or less the same. Chapter 1107. Could it be that Ma Baoqiao was killed by my cousin-in-law? Xiaochen's cousin-in-law is so powerful. It's a piece of cake for him to kill a sect leader. Jean Bebe suddenly slammed the table and asked excitedly, her face full of admiration. I'm not sure about that. Hongzhu was stunned and poured cold water on Jean Bebe. But I heard that Ma Baoqiao is at the level of Demon King Peak. Xiaochen shouldn't be able to kill him yet, right? Song Huawu hesitated for a while and turned around to ask, Hongzhu, can I ask you for a favor? I know you're usually very busy and have a lot of things to do. Can you ask the Honging team to ask the Hong family to investigate it for me? I'm worried that the Quishan sect will fly into a rage out of humiliation and go after Xiaochen again. Then, his situation will become very dangerous. You don't have to worry about that. After I heard about it, I immediately sent the Honging team to investigate it. Hongzhu leaned on his seat with a seductive posture and analyzed with a charming voice, although Ma Baoqiao's death wasn't caused by Xiaochen, I guess there must have been an accident. So, the Quishan sect isn't well prepared and is still in a mess. As for Xiaochen, they definitely can't take care of him in a short time. It's still a safety factor. Then why did my brother go missing? Since the Quishan sect didn't kill him, why didn't he come back? At least tell us that he's safe. Xiao Xiao sounded like she was about to cry. Taking a deep look at Xiao Xiao, Hongzhu pondered and said, although my Honging team can investigate the situation of the Quishan sect, we really can't find the whereabouts of Xiaochen. I guess, he might have gone missing like the other practitioners. According to the result of our discussion in the previous meeting, it might be a conspiracy of a family or a sect in the internal martial arts world. However, we still don't know who it is. In truth, Hongzhu was not particularly concerned about Xiaochen. It was only because Shen Jingxian had repeatedly instructed Hongzhu to pay attention to Xiaochen's safety and prevent him from causing too much trouble in the secular world that Hongzhu had specifically sent people to investigate Xiaochen. Thinking of the demon that was hiding behind the unknown, the four women fell into silence. Their worry and longing for Xiaochen only increased. There was a moment of silence. Song Huawu pondered for a while and felt that she still had to find a way to find Xiaochen. Whether he had gone to the inner martial arts world or other more dangerous places, she had to find him. After all, when she was on the verge of death, Xiaochen had done everything he could to pull her back from the brink of death. If it wasn't for Xiaochen's unreserved efforts, the name Song Huawu would have vanished into thin air and vanished from everyone's memories. Now that Xiaochen had encountered an unknown danger, Song Huawu believed that she should spare no effort to save him. No matter how powerful the forces she had to face were, she had to try her best. Hongzhu. After making up her mind, Song Huawu broke the silence and said in a low voice, during the meeting just now, didn't the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Guild say that if someone was willing to investigate the missing cultivators, he could find a way to escort them into the inner martial arts world? Since she had decided to look for him, she had to enter the inner martial arts world. Song Huawu recalled the vice president's mobilization order from the previous meeting and could not help but feel a little tempted. Before the meeting had begun, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, the Outer Martial Arts World, and the Inner Martial Arts World had already jointly established an alliance investigation team. They had agreed to send people to the Inner Martial Arts World together to investigate the disappearance of the cultivators. Although everyone had unanimously said that they must find the real culprit behind this matter, when it came to deciding on the final candidate to go to the Inner Martial Arts World, they all became hesitant. After all, everyone knew that the situation in the Inner Martial Arts World was ever-changing and very dangerous. None of them were fools. Who would be willing to take the risk to do such a dangerous thing while doing a good job in their own posts? During the meeting, the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Warrior Guild had mobilized for a long time, but no one had volunteered. Although the Inner Martial Arts world seemed to be rich in resources and high level, there were powerful experts everywhere. Moreover, it was very difficult to distinguish them. After going there, they might not necessarily provoke someone. If they provoked someone they shouldn't provoke, then they would be done for. It can't be, right? You mean, don't tell me that you want to go to the Inner Martial Arts world yourself just to look for Xiaofan? Hongzhu asked with some surprise. She really did not expect that Song Huawu would have such deep feelings for Xiaofan. She would even disregard her life for him. Seeing that Song Huawu had firmly nodded, Hongzhu frowned, but still tried to persuade her out of goodwill. Huawu, I think you should first think about it carefully before making a decision. The situation in the Inner Martial Arts world is much more complicated than you think. If you enter the Inner Martial Arts world with your current strength, it is very likely that you will be left there. Hongzhu, you don't need to persuade me, I have already decided. Song Huawu clenched her fists and said with a resolute face, I can't let Xiaofan suffer in the Inner Martial Arts world alone, while I live freely and happily outside. I must rescue him, and even if I can't rescue him, I must die together with him. Because I don't want to be an ungrateful person, and live a life filled with guilt. Song Huawu had always been a person who could clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. In her opinion, she had finally let down her guard with great difficulty, and had set her mind on Xiaofan. If she could never be together with him in the future, then there would be no meaning in living in this world. Great! Great! Bebe is also going to the Inner Martial Arts world to find my cousin-in-law. Sister Huawu, take me with you. If you run into any danger, we can take care of each other. Jean Bebe danced with joy and said to Song Huawu excitedly. Although she had heard that the Inner Martial Arts world seemed to be very dangerous, Jean Bebe felt that she had always been lucky and would certainly not run into any trouble. Then I will go with you. Xiao thought for a moment and also said, I can't go back to the Xiao family just like this. Now that I know that my brother might show up in the Inner Martial Arts world, I have to find him and bring him back. Otherwise, my grandpa and my father will worry for nothing when they know it. Bebe, Xiao, you two should stop fooling around with Song Huawu. It is already troublesome enough for her to go to the Inner Martial Arts world on her own. She can barely take care of herself and has no time to take care of other people at all. You'd better stay here peacefully and wait for the news. Hongzhu was greatly shocked and hurried to stop them. She was somewhat resentful. She had intended to persuade Song Huawu to give up the idea of going to the Inner Martial Arts world on her own. But now, not only did Song Huawu fail to persuade her, even Jean Bebe and Xiao were going with her. Chapter 1108. Sister Hongzhu, don't worry about our safety. Sister Huawu doesn't need to look after us. We can take care of ourselves. Also, I'm already a martial master. Nobody would dare to cause us trouble if we beat them up. Jean Bebe waved her little fists in excitement, not taking it seriously at all. Well. Hongzhu's back was drenched in cold sweat. You're only a martial master. How can you call yourself a master? You should know that all the people in the Inner Martial Arts world are martial kings and martial venerables. You're just a martial master. Aren't you a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth? However, seeing the determination in Song Huawu, Jean Bebe, and Xiao's eyes, Hongzhu knew that he could not change their mind no matter what he said. Okay. I agree with you, but I have a condition. I have to go with you. Otherwise, I will never agree. Hongzhu nodded helplessly. She was now the manager of the Hong Chamber of Commerce in the outer martial arts world. However, the Hong family belonged to the Inner Martial Arts world and had to travel between the inner and outer martial arts world. Therefore, it was normal for her to join the Inner Martial Arts world. She could protect these girls. Besides, she had promised Shen Jingxian that she would protect Xiaofan. Since he might be in danger, she certainly could not ignore it. Otherwise, she would be blamed by Shen Jingxian. Wow! That's great! Beibei's invincible adventure team is established. Our goal is to bring Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law back in one piece. Jean Beibei cheered. It seemed that she could not wait to show off her skills. After the meal, the girls found the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts Guild and told him the details. Hongzhu and Song Huawu introduced Jean Beibei and Xiao Xiao to him. Although they had met each other just now, they had not introduced them formally. The vice president was very happy when he heard that someone was willing to join the investigation team. However, after asking about their strength, he immediately shook his head like a rattle drum and refused to let them join the investigation team. All of them hadn't even reached the Martial King realm or the Demon King realm, yet they still wanted to investigate others. It would be great if they were not investigated. The risk was too great. However, what the vice president didn't expect was that these girls would take turns to beg, act cute, act coquettishly, and even threaten him in the end. Unable to resist, the vice president had no choice but to agree to their request. But even though he agreed, he also raised a few conditions and warnings. First of all, after entering the Inner Martial Arts world, the Warrior Guild would no longer provide any help, and it was impossible for them to send people out to protect the girls. The reason was very simple. This investigation was an extremely secretive operation. If their whereabouts were exposed, the entire Inner Martial Arts Guild would be destroyed in an instant. Secondly, no one else would participate in this operation. So, no matter what trouble the girls encountered, they were not allowed to expose the guild. Otherwise, their families would be severely punished. Finally, if someone spilled the beans, or if someone learned of the inside story under various circumstances, and came to the guild to ask, the internal Wulin Warrior Guild would also completely deny this secret operation, so the girls needed to pay more attention to it. Song Huawu and the other girls whispered to each other for a while and reached a consensus. This time, they were mainly going to find Xiao Chen. As for the investigation of the missing cultivators, they had to wait until they found Xiao Chen. Besides, they also felt that it would be inconvenient to act if there were too many people. Therefore, they agreed to the requirements gladly. Naturally, the vice president did not know what they were planning. Seeing that they had agreed, he did not say anything else but arranged a well-concealed channel and sent them into the Inner Martial Arts world with his subordinates. Everything went well on the way. After they arrived safely, the vice president repeatedly warned the girls to pay attention to their own safety. Then, when nobody was paying attention to them, he left quickly with his subordinates. Although Song Huawu, Jean Beibei, and Xiao Xiao had entered the Inner Martial Arts world with zeal, they had not made any plans or arrangements after they entered the place. They did not have the time to consider at all. They did not have the slightest clue about how they should inquire about Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Also, having just entered the Inner Martial Arts world, the three of them were rather curious about the environment around them, but they were quite nervous. Thinking of the warning that the Inner Martial Arts world was highly dangerous, they did not dare greet other people casually and were always on high alert. Seeing the three girls' attitude, Hongzhu was somewhat helpless, too. She could only take them to an inn and check in. Then, she went out and bought some clothes for them. She changed them into the ancient clothes that were in line with the symbol of the Inner Martial Arts world. Then, she briefly explained some of the rules of the Inner Martial Arts world to them and arranged for them to take a rest. Hongzhu was very clear that it was not suitable for her to investigate immediately given the current situation. She planned to wait for the girls to adapt to the new environment for a few days before she began to investigate the whereabouts of the missing cultivators and Xiao Chen. When Song Huawu and her companions arrived at the Inner Martial Arts world, what was Xiao Chen doing? He was riding his flying sword in the sky, taking Chik Xing, Tian Suruan, and Tang Tang to open Heaven Gate. As Xiao Chen flew, he suddenly sensed something. He stopped and floated in the air, turning his head to look in another direction. What's wrong? What happened? Did someone catch up with us? Chixing asked in surprise when she saw Xiao Chen's abnormal behavior. Well. No, I just had a strange feeling. I can't explain it. Xiao Chen was also stunned after he stopped, not knowing what was wrong with him. Just now, he had a vague feeling that someone was calling him in a friendly way, but when he listened carefully, he found nothing. Oh, have we arrived? Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan stuck his head out from behind Tang Tang and asked curiously. Well. It's still early. It's estimated that there's still half the journey. If you're hungry, take some dry food from the bag and eat. Xiao Chen shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Eating dry food all the time, Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan curled his lips. He hadn't had a good rest after traveling day and night for the past few days. Although he wasn't physically tired, he was still mentally tired. Xiao Chen, let's go down. It's not suitable to use flying swords for the rest of the journey. Xiao Chen was about to make a few jokes when Chixing looked ahead for a while and suddenly said. Huh? Why? Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. Although he didn't know what Chixing wanted to do, he still controlled the flying sword and slowly landed on the ground. Because we have already flown more than half the distance. A few hundred miles ahead is the boundary of the open heaven gate. Little girl Xing pointed to a direction in front of them and explained, if we continue to go forward and use flying swords instead of walking, it will be too conspicuous and it will be very easy to be discovered. Chapter 1109. Jean Bebe was so infuriated that her little face was livid and pale. She was itching to burst into rage and beat up the guard. However, considering the situation she was in, she could only hold back her anger and hide behind the guard. However, it did not work at all. Well, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll be fine after resting for a while. Xiao Xiao comforted the others, looking a little upset. If it weren't for the fact that she was too weak, she wouldn't have been a burden to them. Fortunately, the girls did not endure it for long. A young man with an arrogant expression came over. When the leading guard saw him, he immediately jumped to him and bowed to him with a big smile. Xiao Chen and Xing Chix smiled helplessly and helped Tang Tang to walk forward. The intimacy they had felt before did not appear again, so Xiao Chen did not take it to heart anymore. Hongzhu unloaded his backpack and took out some water and food. He distributed them to the other three girls while he observed the situation in front of them. He said, "You guys should eat something to fill your stomach first. There's a town about 3 kilometers ahead. We'll stay there tonight." After pondering for a while, Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Oh. Okay then. Let's go on foot. It's only a few days anyway. Tang Tang should be able to hold on." Song Huawu was stunned and did not know how to answer for a moment. She felt a little baffled. There was not even a sign nearby. Who would know that this was the territory of the Tang family? Seeing that Hongzhu did not respond, the girls fell silent, too, and waited for the person in charge of the Tang family that the leading guard mentioned. Although it would take more time to go to the open heaven gate on foot, it was much better than exposing their traces. I don't know the name of this place, either. But there seems to be a family nearby. Let me think. Right. This is. Before Hongzhu's voice died away, his face suddenly changed. Rustling noises came from not far away. Then, more than 10 guys dressed as guards rushed out of the dense forest and surrounded them. However, like the other 3 girls, there were not many people who accepted Hongzhu's offer. There were also some people who saw that these girls were very beautiful and openly took liberties with them. Although they did not do anything frivolous, it still made these girls feel very unhappy. However, they were not as strong as Hongzhu, so they could only grit their teeth, swallow their anger, and stay far away. Song Huawu, Jean Bebe, and Xiao Xiao did not know the first thing about the internal martial arts world. Therefore, they could only ask with their mouths, with little success. Hong Zhu's family, on the other hand, was a medium-sized family in the internal martial arts world, and they appeared to be mainly engaged in business. Therefore, she could only try to ask for intelligence from other people. Every time the women put on a smiling face and asked questions, they would always run into a wall. The cultivators they met basically didn't know anything. Some of them were even extremely unfriendly and didn't bother to cooperate and answer their questions. They didn't even give them a good look. Although they had already prepared themselves for things to not go smoothly, what they did not expect was that they could not even take the first step, let alone not going smoothly. But not too long after, Hong Zhu began to feel a little uncomfortable. She could see the vulgar gazes of the guards constantly sweeping between her and the other women, and even whispering to each other with dirty smiles on their faces, which made her feel very uncomfortable. Song Huawu and the rest of them also noticed that something was wrong, especially the leader of the guards. His eyes were staring at Jean Beibei's breasts without blinking. His eyes were so blatant that they seemed to be glued to them. The young man talked to the leader of the guards in a low voice first. Then, he turned around and looked at Song Huawu and the rest of them. However, when his eyes fell on Hong Zhu, he was stunned for a moment. Song Huawu took over the bottle of mineral water and had a sip. Then, she turned around and looked at the strange environment around and asked, "Hong Zhu, where are we right now? Why does it seem that everywhere around here is the same?" On this day, while they were walking, Xiao Zhao's legs suddenly gave way, and she fell to the ground, probably because she was too tired. Jean Beibei and Song Huawu happened to be walking behind her. They were greatly shocked to see that and immediately helped Xiao Xiao to the side of the road to sit on a boulder to check her wounds. "Brother, don't be too nervous. We are all from the Hong family." Hong Zhu cupped his fists. Relying on the convenience of his family, he easily replied, "A few disciples of our Hong family mysteriously disappeared a while ago, so the family had specially sent us out to inquire about their whereabouts. We just so happened to pass by your precious land and wanted to head to the small town up ahead, but we didn't expect to accidentally enter the Tang family's territory. Please do us a favor." Xiao Chen had been carrying the black badge with him all the time. Although he did not know how to use it, it seemed that as long as Tang Tang was around the badge, she would keep quiet and eat and sleep, except that she did not have any divine sense. "Xiao Xiao, are you all right? Let's take a rest here for a while. We've been on the road for half a day. You must be hungry, too." Hong Zhu turned around and examined Xiao Zhao's condition carefully. He discovered that she had only sprained her ankle and should be fine. She was probably too tired to walk. "You are from the Hong family?" The leader of the guards eyed Hong Zhu suspiciously and winked at the guards behind him. Then, he took out his phone and walked to the side. The dozen or so guards, on the other hand, were guarding Hong Zhu and his companions solemnly. The leader of the guards was very tall and sturdy. He glanced at Song Huawu and her companions with his eyes as sharp as swords and demanded loudly, "How dare you? How dare you break into the Tang family's territory without permission? What are you doing? Explain yourself now." Jean Beibei and Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, were both startled. They looked at Hong Zhu uneasily. After all, they were in the inner martial arts world, which was different from the secular world. Therefore, they did not dare to speak carelessly. After staying in the inn for 2 days, Song Huawu and her companions finally lost their curiosity and wariness toward the inner martial arts world and gradually melted into the atmosphere of the inner martial arts world. Seeing that it was about time, Hong Zhu led them to inquire about Xiao Chen and the other missing cultivators. Hong Zhu frowned slightly. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the arrogant attitude of the leader of the guards. However, they were surrounded by so many armed people and Xiao Xiao had sprained her ankle. It was not convenient for them to move around. Therefore, they had no choice but to wait. "Oh yeah. Then Sister Sour can go to the town in front and have a feast. Let's go." Tian Sour was so happy that she jumped up and down and ran forward excitedly. The leader of the guards dialed a number and said a few words in a low voice. Then, he turned around and arrogantly said to Hongzhu, "All of you stay here and don't move. I suspect that your identities are fake. You can only leave after the person in charge of the Tang family comes to verify your identities." Chapter 11:10. Aya, isn't this the second daughter of the Hong family? What a distinguished guest. Why didn't you tell us in advance that you were coming to visit our Tang family? So that I could have sent someone to welcome you, right? Tang Qianqi immediately rushed over and said with a smile on his face. That's right, it's not a misunderstanding. When he received the call from the leading guard, he didn't come over immediately. Instead, he went to Tang Qianling's room and briefly reported the situation. Tang Qianling panicked when he learned that the group of people who had inexplicably appeared were looking for the missing disciples of the Hong family. Wasn't this what he had done? Could it be that there were people from the Hong family among those cultivators? But no one had told him about it. What a trap! Even if they were looking for someone, they couldn't have just randomly looked for them. Now they had come knocking on his door, hadn't they? However, after panicking for a while, Tang Qianling quickly calmed down. After thinking for a while, he felt that the matter was definitely not that simple. Although the shady business he had done could not see the light of day, he still had basic common sense. Moreover, all this time, he had ordered his subordinates to look for people from the martial arts world and the secular world. It was impossible for anyone to be so bold as to use people from the martial arts world as experiments. Tang Qianling believed that they were not that stupid. In order to figure out the real intentions of this group of people, Tang Qianling decided not to show up for the time being. He would let Tang Qianqi first get some information from the Hong family, and then act according to the circumstances. Tang Qianqi, that's enough. Don't talk so sarcastically. Since you know who I am, why don't you hurry up and tell those guards to get out of the way? I still have serious matters to attend to, and I don't have time to chat with you here. Although Tang Qianqi was very attentive, Hongzhu did not pretend to be polite and said impatiently. Previously, she had already been baptized by the gazes of the surrounding guards countless times, which had already made her extremely unhappy. Now that a sloppy and disgraceful person had come, Hongzhu's mood was extremely terrible. Most importantly, this guy in front of her, whose eyes were shining, had once had a crush on her. Although Tang Qianqi had only seen Hongzhu once or twice, Hongzhu's gentle and enchanting seductive charm had completely captivated him. He firmly believed that Hongzhu was the love of his life, and launched an incomparably powerful offensive to pursue her. He had also anonymously sent Hongzhu many expensive gifts, each gift containing a love letter. What kind of personality did Hongzhu have? Naturally, she looked down on a lackey like Tang Qianqi who licked people's soles. Even if Tang Qianqi's gifts were always anonymous, she could still guess that those gifts were from this guy. So, every time she received a gift, she would throw it away or directly give it to her servant girl. As for those love letters, Hongzhu couldn't even be bothered to look at them. He tore them up the moment he received them, not even bothering to dirty his hands. However, Tang Qianqi did not know about this. After all, Hongzhu was so mysterious that he had only met him a few times. He thought that Hongzhu had accepted all the gifts. Therefore, Tang Qianqi was always secretly delighted, fantasizing that one day he would be able to bring home a beauty. Miss Hongzhu, don't be so anxious. We haven't seen each other for so long, but you're still so beautiful. Can't we catch up first? Tang Qianqi quickly walked up to Hongzhu and took a whiff of her faint body fragrance. He felt as if he was floating in the air. What does it have to do with you whether I'm pretty or not? We're going forward now. Do you have anything to do? If there's nothing else, we're leaving. Hongzhu glared at him and prepared to leave. Hey, wait. Tang Qianqi hurriedly stopped Hongzhu. He suppressed the turmoil in his heart and said with a smile, I just heard from my subordinates that a few disciples of the Hong family have gone missing. What's going on? If you need any help, don't hesitate to tell me. Tang Qianqi. Oh, no, the Tang family is very willing to lend a helping hand. Let's just talk. Why are you standing so close to me? Seeing that Tang Qianqi was about to stick to her, Hongzhu glared at him disdainfully and immediately took a few steps back to maintain a certain distance from Tang Qianqi. Then, she said calmly, I appreciate the Tang family's kindness, but this is the Hong family's internal matter. We don't need anyone else to interfere. You only need to ask these guards to make way for us. Oh? Who are these three beautiful girls? Hongzhu, why don't you introduce them to me? Look, I've been focusing all my attention on you and almost ignored them. Pretending that he did not hear Hongzhu's words, Tang Qianqi turned around and asked Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao attentively. Sweeping his eyes over them, Tang Qianqi discovered that all three of them were rare beauties. Moreover, each of them had a different appearance compared to Hongzhu, and each of them had their own merits. Standing there, they were very eye-catching, causing Tang Qianqi to involuntarily take a few more glances. In fact, Tang Qianqi had an unknown hobby, which was to collect the photos of beautiful girls. As long as it was a beautiful girl from the internal martial arts circle, he would have their photos in his hands. He often took them out to admire and play with them. He had a lot of photos of Hongzhu. Therefore, when he saw Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao, he immediately determined that the three girls were not from the internal martial arts circle. Otherwise, it was impossible that he did not recognize such beautiful girls. They are. Hongzhu was slightly taken aback. She really hadn't considered this question before, so she hesitated and didn't answer. Her mind was spinning rapidly as she considered how she could come up with a reasonable identity to fool Tang Qianqi. Jin Beibei keenly sensed that something was wrong. She immediately stood out and answered on behalf of Hongzhu, holding her chest high. The three of us are Miss Hongzhu's maids. This time, we were ordered to accompany her on a trip to inquire about the whereabouts of the missing disciples of the Hong family and take care of her daily life. Song Huawu and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. They were also smart enough to understand Jin Beibei's intention after thinking for a moment. Therefore, they hurried to nod in agreement. Oh. So, you are all maids? Tang Qianqi stared at Jin Beibei's breasts covetously and then repeated himself. Naturally, he did not believe Jin Beibei's **t, but he could not find anything suspicious at the moment. Yes, yes. They are all my maids. So what? Do I have to tell you that I brought a few maids with me? Is the Tang family the dominator of the internal martial arts circle? Aren't you being too nosy? Hongzhu was secretly relieved. She pretended to be angry and continued, secretly praising Jin Beibei's quick reflexes. Otherwise, she really did not know how she should explain herself. Tang Qianqi did not say anything but continued eyeing Jin Beibei and the other girls up and down, with lecherous brilliance beaming out of his bean-sized eyes. Right when Song Huawu's face turned gloomy and she was about to burst into rage, Tang Qianqi suddenly put on a weird smile and said casually, "Why do I feel that you do not look like her maids?" Chapter 11:11. What? What gives you the right to say that? Have you planted spies in the Hong family? They are all my personal maids. They don't usually meet people. Hongzhu was dazed for a moment. Although he felt uneasy, he still hoped that Tang Qianqi was just trying to trick him. Is that true? Tang Qianqi turned his eyes to the feet of the three girls and asked with a smile, "Hongzhu, it has occurred to me that the maids of the Hong family are quite trendy. Look, they are all wearing high-end sneakers such as Nike and Adidas. They are much more fashionable than you. Speaking of which, since when does the internal martial arts world sell such shoes? Why didn't I know about it? What Nike and Adidas? Are you a pervert? They wear whatever shoes they are wearing." While arguing, Hongzhu subconsciously glanced at the clothes of Jean Bebe and the other girls. He immediately stopped talking and realized what the problem was. The internal martial arts world was isolated from the rest of the world in the first place, and there were few opportunities for them to go out. Therefore, the practitioners of the martial arts world usually wore plain clothes. They were mostly used to wearing cloth shoes or boots made of animal hide. They had no chance to wear the trendy brands of the mortal world at all. For example, Hongzhu was wearing a pair of deerskin boots, and Tang Qianqi and the guards were only wearing cloth shoes. However, although Jean Bebe and the other girls were all wearing the clothes of the internal martial arts world, they were wearing the shoes of the sports brands such as Nike and Adidas. Therefore, their clothes were exposed immediately. Hongzhu, who was rendered speechless, could not help but feel very upset. Why did he forget to change their shoes when he changed their clothes? The clothes and the ancient clothes and the sneakers were even more eye-catching than the sportswear. It would be strange if they did not attract attention. He. Of course, I don't care what shoes you are wearing, but it is obvious that you are lying, Miss Hongzhu. Those girls are obviously not from the internal martial arts world. Tang Qianqi glanced at Hongzhu, and his face gradually turned gloomy. Hongzhu turned his head away and avoided his eyes unnaturally. Tang Qianqi did not mind it at all. He walked in front of Jean Bebe, Song Huawu, and Xiao Xiao unhurriedly. The three girls subconsciously shrank their feet. Although these girls were usually bold and courageous, they did not have enough experience when it came to handling major issues. At this moment, they felt guilty as if they had been caught red-handed and did not know what to do. Based on that, I can infer that the purpose of your visit to the Tang family is not simple. Miss Hongzhu, I suggest that you tell me the truth. Otherwise, don't blame me for disregarding our many years of friendship and being rude to you. Tang Qianqi finally stood in front of Hongzhu and said in a sinister voice. Although it was true that Tang Qianqi had a crush on Hongzhu, he was more interested in the former. It was to be the leader of the Tang family. Tang Qianqi was not to be a Zhu to be to him to that to him. After Tang Qianling took over the power of the Tang family, he would definitely rise to the top with him. At that time, he would have all the women he wanted. It was even possible for him to kiss Hongzhu. Maybe Hongzhu would even run to him and beg him to spend the rest of his life with her. On the other hand, if he went against Tang Qianling's will in order to please Hongzhu, he would definitely end up miserably. He might even lose his life. Therefore, Tang Qianqi was very clear that he would not give up the whole forest for a tree. Sister Hongzhu, this guy's logic is so weird. It's just a pair of sneakers. What's there to be surprised about? Jean Bebe rolled her eyes and suddenly thought of something. She pursed her lips and said loudly. Little girl, don't be so stubborn. I'm telling you, in the internal martial arts world, you can go and take a look. Nobody will wear shoes like yours. It's such an obvious loophole, and you say that there's no need to make a fuss? Tang Qianqi sneered and said with a mocking expression. Jean Bebe rolled her eyes at Tang Qianqi. She bent down and wiped off the dust on her sneakers. Then, she stood straight and said in disdain, what do you know? The Hong family is mainly engaged in business. We often go to the secular world. Of course, we have to dress like ordinary people and blend in with the crowd. You don't even know that? You are too inexperienced. F***ck. You are just a maid. How dare you talk back to me? Tang Qianqi was infuriated after being ridiculed for no reason. He pointed at Hongzhu and said, stop arguing with me. Even the second daughter of your family is wearing deerskin boots. Why are you wearing sneakers? It doesn't make any sense at all. I told you that you don't know anything, but you really don't. The more Jean Bebe talked, the smoother she became. She said matter-of-factly, deerskin boots are so expensive. Sister Hongzhu can wear them, but we are just maids. Are we qualified to wear them? Besides, compared with your cloth shoes, sneakers are, of course, more comfortable for us to walk on the mountain. You don't know anything, and you want me to educate you? You are such a fool. You. Tang Qinshi flew into a rage. He was about to burst into anger when he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Rolling his eyes, he said with a sneaky smile, "He he he. Since you are Hongzhu's maids, you should call her Miss. Why did you call her sister Hongzhu directly? Don't you know the basic rules? What do you think? Did you spill the beans? Did you see through it? Hey! What are you talking about? We are very close to Sister Hongzhu. Is it strange that we call each other sisters? You, on the other hand." Jean Bebe did not think it was a big deal. Pointing at Tang Qinshi, she said angrily, "You seem to be up to no good. How can you call Sister Hongzhu Miss? Do you know what kind of people are usually called Miss in the secular world?" Hongzhu cooperated with her in a timely manner. He snorted and glared at Tang Qinshi in disgust. Well. Tang Qinshi was dazed for a moment. Although he had never been to the secular world, he still knew the basic knowledge. Miss was usually used to address the girls who had lost their footing. Looking at Hongzhu's gloomy face, Tang Qinshi was immediately rendered speechless. He meant to explain that it was not what he meant, but he could not bring himself to say it. Damn it! This big-breasted girl was really good at bullshitting. What do you mean by this and that? Did you not take your medicine before you went out today? Jean Bebe waved her hands as if she were dismissing a lackey. She said impatiently, "Hurry up and get rid of them. Why don't you have any eyesight? We have a lot of things to do. We don't have time to watch you act up here. What the F***ck? I don't believe that I can't teach you a lesson today." Seeing that Jean Bebe was about to step out, Tang Qinshi finally came back to himself and stopped her immediately. Jean Bebe's face fell. Aya, how unlucky. The series of words just now failed to scare this guy. Bebe was such a failure. Chapter 11-12. After stopping it, Tang Qinshi immediately winked at the leading guard and ordered fiercely, "Go. Capture those girls. Bring them all back to the Tang family and lock them up first. We will interrogate them slowly after the leader is done with his business." Wait. Hongzhu hurriedly stood in front of Jean Bebe and the others when he heard this, and he said with a gloomy expression, "Tang Qinshi, regardless of whether you believe it or not, they are indeed members of the Hong clan. If you dare to detain them, then you're going against the Hong clan. If the leader of the Hong family learns about it, he will definitely not let you go. Don't use Hong Dingwei as an excuse." Tang Qinshi did not buy it at all. He squinted at Hongzhu and said, "Let me make it clear to you. If you are not a member of the Hong family, I can execute you on the spot for trespassing on the Tang family's territory. The Hong family will not be able to reason with you. You." Hongzhu was furious, but he could not do anything to Tang Qinshi. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After saying that, Tang Qinshi turned around and ordered the leading guard again, "What are you waiting for? Take them all away. Lock them in the dungeon of the Tang family first. Don't come any closer. Or I won't show any mercy." Seeing that the guards had surrounded them like wolves and tigers, Song Huawu immediately activated her mental cultivation method and assumed a stance, revealing the strength of a 9th-level martial master. It was a pity that, although she had been training hard and her strength had improved a lot over the past year, she was still not strong enough in the inner martial arts world. Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were also ready for battle. However, they were even weaker. The former was only a 6th-level martial master, and the latter was only a 5th-level martial warrior. Yo, am I seeing things? You are not even as strong as the lowest-level guards of the Tang family. Are you going to fight back? Tang Qinshi said disdainfully after he saw the strength of the girls. He had come here to take away the suspicious people who had trespassed on the Tang family's territory for questioning. Now that he saw the girls resisting with their lives, he was even more certain that there was something wrong with them. The guards revealed disdainful smiles as well, and then they roared loudly and revealed the strength of various martial generals. The weakest amongst them was at the third layer of the martial general realm, and the leader of the guards was even at the perfection stage of the martial general realm. They didn't take Jin Bebe and the others seriously at all. Hua Wu, don't be too rash. The situation had changed too quickly and Hong Zhu hurriedly stopped the women, feeling a little anxious in his heart. If a fight broke out, they would definitely be charged with assaulting a Tang family guard. What do you think? Miss Hong Zhu, why don't you just tell me what these people are here for? Don't be too stubborn, otherwise, you'll end up hurting everyone's relationship. Tang Qianqi slowly flicked his sleeves as he lecherously said to Hong Zhu. They are indeed servants of the Hong family. I've already told you what they did. Hong Zhu's face was as cold as frost as he said in an icy voice, from the way you're acting, don't tell me you want to capture me and imprison me as well? Oh my, how would I dare to do that? Tang Qianqi's expression did not change at all. He was still smiling as he said, Miss Hong Zhu is an honored guest of our Tang family. I can't wait to serve you, so why would I capture you? It's just that these people are suspicious, so I have to bring them back for investigation. Hong Zhu bit his lower lip and thought for a while. Finally, he made a decision. He pulled Song Huawu's hand and said in a low voice, Huawu, these people are too strong. Why don't you go with them first? You can take care of Bebe and Xiao Xiao. I'll return to the Hong family immediately and report to our family head to rescue you. But... Song Huawu hesitated for a moment. She was not thinking about her own situation, but that Xiao Chen might still be in dire straits. However, when she turned her head to look at the ferocious guards around her, she could only nod helplessly and agree. All right, then come back as soon as possible. We can't waste too much time. Hong Zhu agreed and let go of her hand. Seeing this, Tang Qianqi immediately yelled at the guards fiercely, You guys, why are you still standing there like idiots? Hurry up and take them away. After the guards had taken the women away, Tang Qianqi regained his smile. He looked at Hong Zhu proudly and pretended to be in a difficult position as he said, Hong Zhu, don't blame me for being heartless. I'm just following young Master Ling's instructions. Don't worry, as long as there's no problem with their identities, I promise to send them back to the Hong family in one piece and into your hands. Humph. Tang Qianqi, I'm telling you, don't even think about doing anything to them. If they lose even a single hair on their heads, I won't let you and Tang Qianling off. Hong Zhu stomped his feet angrily and hatefully. He looked deeply at the backs of Song Huawu and the others as they left, then turned around and hurried in the direction of the Hong family. Take care. If you bring anyone to the Tang family as a guest next time, remember to give me a call first, or even send me a WeChat message. Tang Qianqi waved his hand and stared at Hong Zhu's perky buttocks for a while, his lower abdomen burning with desire. Only after Hong Zhu had disappeared did Tang Qianqi subconsciously lick his lips and think to himself, You little hussy, why are you pretending to be a decent girl? Aren't you just a collateral relative of the Hong family? I'll get you on my bed sooner or later. But thinking was just thinking, and Tang Qianqi really did not dare to do anything rash. Although the Hong family was not as strong as the Tang family, they still had the Song family to help them. The strength of the big families in the internal martial arts world was actually not that different. Therefore, if the two families joined forces, they would be much stronger than any of the three big families. If the Tang family really angered these two families and a fight broke out, not only would the Tang family not be able to gain any advantage, they might even suffer a huge setback. Therefore, Tang Qianqi also knew that although he was in the right, he definitely could not do anything stupid. He only ordered his men to lock up Song Huawu and the others, not daring to have any improper thoughts about them. He also strictly forbade the other guards from touching them. Hong Zhu rushed all the way back to the Hong family. He did not care about the rules and directly ran to the head of the Hong family, Hong Dingwei, for help. But strangely, whether it was the study or the bedroom, Hong Zhu could not find any trace of the family head. This made Hong Zhu a little puzzled. Grandpa family head usually stayed at home and rarely went out, so why wasn't he home today? Could it be that Grandpa family head was hiding from him? He shouldn't know that I'm back either. Isn't this our little Hong Zhu? I heard that you went to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to attend a meeting. Why are you back so early? Just as Hong Zhu was feeling helpless, a gentle male voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Chapter 11:13. Hong Zhu turned his head to look, only to see a young man walking in from the entrance. He had a fair and clean appearance, and his originally handsome and heroic face was set off by the white robes he was wearing, making him appear even more elegant and handsome. Qingshu, you're here. Did you see where Grandpa Patriarch went? I have something very important to discuss with him. Hong Zhu was overjoyed and hurriedly ran over to ask. The person was called Song Qingshu, the second young master of the Song family. Because the relationship between the two families was extremely harmonious, he often came to visit the Hong family and play chess with Hong Dingwei. Grandpa Hong isn't here? I even specially came to visit him. If I had known earlier, I would have called and asked. Song Qingshu looked around the hall for a while and found that Hong Dingwei was indeed not there, so he could only shake his head regretfully. Turning around, Song Qingshu saw Hong Zhu's anxious expression and couldn't help but tease, "What happened? Little Hong Zhu, you're actually so flustered. Could it be that some kid has bad eyesight and has taken a fancy to you, so he's here to propose marriage to Patriarch Hong? Don't talk nonsense." Hong Zhu rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu and took out his cell phone to dial Hong Dingwei's number. However, when he heard that he was not in the service area, he couldn't help but become even more anxious. What's wrong with Grandpa Patriarch? Why didn't he go out earlier or later? He just had to go out when I have something urgent to discuss with him. And I can't even get through to his cell phone. What should I do? All right, don't be anxious. What happened? Song Qingshu said to Hong Zhu as if he were coaxing a child. Why don't you tell me first? I might even be able to help you out with some ideas. Did someone provoke you? Tell me the name of that person, and I promise I'll beat him until he looks like a pig. You can put him in any shape you want. Song Qingshu still didn't know what had happened, but judging from Hong Zhu's expression, it was indeed a little troublesome. Although Hong Zhu was not a direct descendant of the Hong family of the inner martial arts world, she was only a member of the outer martial arts world's Hong Chamber of Commerce. The Hong family's patriarch, Hong Dingwei, was her paternal grandfather, but this little girl had often followed her grandfather to the inner martial arts world's Hong family to report on business. As a result, she had gradually become familiar with Song Qingshu. Hong Zhu's appearance was coquettish, but her temperament was very magnanimous. Song Qingshu was very fond of her, so he had always treated Hong Zhu as his own little sister. Now that she saw Hong Zhu, who was usually very meticulous in his planning, being so anxious, Song Qingshu was naturally very concerned. How should I say this? Hong Zhu hesitated for a moment before he gathered his courage and said, I was originally going to attend a meeting. Then, I brought a few friends into the inner martial arts world to investigate some missing people. We accidentally trespassed into the Tang family's territory, and they were all captured by that bastard Tang Qinchi. Although Hong Zhu did not know if Song Qingshu would be able to help him, he had no choice but to tell her everything that had happened in the absence of the family head. Tang Qinchi? Oh. I remember now, it's Tang Qinling's lackey. If I remember correctly, he used to pursue you, right? He even gave you a lot of gifts, and then you. Song Qingshu chuckled. He wanted to tease Tang Qinchi about how he had pursued Hong Zhu in the past, but Hong Zhu cut him off. Don't mention this person. Just hearing his name makes me angry. Aren't we just passing through the Tang family's territory? We're not going to find trouble with them, so what's the big deal? He actually has the guts to detain all my friends. What a lunatic. Pervert. Shameless. Hongzhu said angrily, wishing he could directly cut Tang Qianqi into 8 pieces and feed them to the dogs. All right, don't be angry. Tell me the names of your friends first. In any case, the family head isn't here right now. In a moment, I'll go find Tang Qianqi and bring your friends back, Song Qingshu said with a smile as he patted Hongzhu's head. In Song Qingshu's opinion, he was the second young master of the Song family, so even the family head of the Tang family had to give some face to the Hong family and the Song family. Tang Qianqi was just an errand boy. No matter how arrogant he was, he would still have to take the initiative to release his friends, right? That can't be, right? You're going just like that? Hongzhu looked at Song Qingshu suspiciously. Don't try to fool me. Even though I'm usually in the martial arts world, I know that the Tang family is one of the 3 great families of the martial arts world, and there are countless experts in the family. Do you really think you can single-handedly rescue them? Hongzhu wasn't doubting Song Qingshu's strength. It was undeniable that his cultivation was indeed very high, and he was also one of the few extremely talented juniors of the Song family. However, how could he contend against the entire Tang family with just his strength alone? You don't need to worry about that. Others may not understand my strength, but you should be very clear about it. Song Qingshu waved his hand, clearly very confident in himself. He then reached out and scratched Hongzhu's nose with a smile. Besides, didn't my big brother and I always help you solve the troubles you encountered when you were young? I believe you. Why bring up the past? Hongzhu was a little embarrassed and rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu. In the past, he was especially mischievous and liked to tease the children of other families. He often got into trouble, and the Song brothers would always help him smooth things over. Now that he thought about it, he felt a little embarrassed. Isn't that enough? Song Qingshu smiled and said lightly, you just need to tell me the names of your friends. Don't worry about anything else. I promise I'll bring them back safely. Then, all right. I have 3 friends in total. They're called Jin Beibei, Song Huawu, and Xiao Xiao. Hongzhu nodded. She first told him the names of the girls, and then she was about to describe their appearances. However, when she opened her mouth, she pondered for a moment, and then said, how about this, I'll go with you. It's better to be safe, in case that stinky pervert Tang Qianqi plays any more tricks. Wait. Did you just say that there's someone called Song Huawu? Song Qingshu was suddenly stunned, and his whole body became a little nervous. Hongzhu nodded with a little confusion. Song Qingshu immediately frowned and asked with a serious expression, what does Song Huawu look like? How did she end up with you? Is she from the Secular World Supernatural Investigation Bureau? How do you know? She's a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Originally, she entered the inner martial arts world this time to investigate the missing cultivators with me, but I didn't expect to run into such an unlucky thing. Hongzhu sighed slightly, feeling a little guilty. He blamed himself for being too careless. He usually entered the inner martial arts world, so he didn't think too much about it. If he had known this earlier, he would have investigated the route before going, and he wouldn't have wasted so much time. Chapter 11-14. Humph. He even dares to detain Huawu. Is that brat Tang Qianqi tired of living? Song Qingshu suddenly snorted coldly. His originally refined and gentle demeanor disappeared, as if he had become a different person. An oppressive aura suddenly surged from his body, and a furious and violent aura soared into the sky. Qingshu, what's wrong? Do you know Huawu? Hongzhu was greatly startled. Looking at the cold expression on Song Qingshu's face, he felt as if there was a ferocious beast standing in front of him. Song Qingshu did not answer. Instead, he coldly said, "Hongzhu, let's go to the Tang family now. I want to see how many lives that lackey Tang Qinchi has. How much courage does he have to give him such power?" This. Hongzhu was somewhat surprised when he saw Song Qingshu's cold eyes, but he still subconsciously followed behind him. Although he did not know why Song Qingshu was so angry, Hongzhu did not dare to ask. He could only carry his heart full of doubts as he sped in the direction of the Tang family. Under the spur of the horse, the two of them smoothly arrived at the Tang family's residence in no time. There were still many guards patrolling the perimeter of the Tang family's residence, vigilantly observing their surroundings. However, what surprised Hongzhu was that Song Qingshu seemed to have been here several times. He led Hongzhu inside with ease, perfectly avoiding all the patrolling guards in the vicinity, and directly walked towards a certain courtyard. When they arrived at the courtyard, Hongzhu carefully looked around and discovered that there were no guards patrolling the place. The entire courtyard was frighteningly quiet, with only the faint sound of voices coming from the largest room in front. Hongzhu was just about to ask Song Qingshu what they should do next, but when he turned his head, he saw that Song Qingshu had not said a word and was instead rushing towards that room. Bang! Song Qingshu fiercely kicked the door open and swaggered into the room without saying a word. Hongzhu was once again shocked by Song Qingshu's actions. Isn't this a little too arrogant? It must be known that the Tang family was one of the three great families of the internal martial arts circle. Yet, he had rashly rushed in like this. Wasn't this just seeking his own death? Did Song Qingshu take the wrong medicine? But now that it had already happened, Hongzhu could not turn back time. She had to save Song Qingshu first, so she only hesitated for a moment before putting away her timid attitude. She took a deep breath and braced herself to follow Song Qingshu into the room. "Who are you? How dare you barge into young Master Ling's room? Do you want to die?" A familiar voice called out. Hongzhu raised his head and saw that it was Tang Qianqi, who had assumed a defensive stance and was glaring at him. Tang Qianling, who was sitting next to him, was sitting leisurely with his legs crossed, but at this time, he was so shocked by the loud sound of the door breaking that he almost fell off his chair. Song Qingshu? Tang Qianling stabilized his body with great difficulty. He was about to raise his head and scold Song Qingshu when he saw that the person who had come was the second young master of the Song family, Song Qingshu. Cold sweat immediately broke out on his back and he almost fell off his chair again. Fortunately, Tang Qianqi caught him in time. Tang Qianling straightened his body with a guilty conscience and was just about to ask Song Qingshu why he had come here, when Tang Qianqi's sharp eyes noticed Hongzhu, who was following behind Song Qingshu. He immediately shouted, "Hongzhu, why are you here again? Don't think that we will be afraid just because you brought someone to help us. This is the Tang." Ouch! Before he could finish speaking, Tang Qianqi's entire body was sent flying. He let out an anguished howl in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground. Blood bubbled incessantly from his mouth and nose, and his eyes were tightly shut as he lay motionless. It seemed that he had been knocked unconscious. Tang Qianling trembled in fear. He watched as Song Qingshu slowly wiped his hands. Just as he was thinking about how to speak, Song Qingshu's sharp gaze swept over him. "Tang Qianling, you're quite capable, aren't you? You actually dared to have your lackeys detain Hongzhu's friend. Have you forgotten the painful beating you received when you were young? It seems that I have to remind you again," Song Qingshu said with a cold expression. Without waiting for Tang Qianling to react, Song Qingshu quickly appeared in front of him in a flash and swung his fist at his face. Bang! Tang Qianling sensed that something was wrong, but it was already too late for him to dodge. He hurriedly circulated his mental cultivation method to resist, but his face still took a solid hit. He could not help but cry out in pain as he was thrown backward along with his chair by the force of the punch. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Not bad. Your reaction is quite fast. You know how to resist now? I would like to see how many attacks you, a mere great perfection martial king, can withstand. Song Qingshu said expressionlessly. Under Hong Zhu's dumbstruck gaze, Song Qingshu mercilessly punched and kicked Tang Qianling's body like a sandbag, as if venting all the dissatisfaction and anger in his heart. Ouch! Stop hitting me. Ouch! Second young master Song. I know I was wrong. Ouch! Tang Qianling screamed miserably as he raised his hands to defend himself. However, no matter how hard he tried, Song Qingshu's punches and kicks would always accurately land on the areas that he could not defend against. Not long after, his body was covered in injuries and his face was covered in dirt. He looked incomparably miserable. Tang Qianling was on the verge of tears. He resisted in vain. Suddenly, a memory from his childhood surfaced in his mind. Back then, children liked to play together. However, whenever he bullied the disciples of the weaker sects, Song Qingshu would always stand up for them and beat him up, often leaving him with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Strangely, every time he was beaten up, he would complain to the Tang family's patriarch, his grandfather. Not only would his grandfather not stand up for him, he would also harshly reprimand him, telling him not to provoke Song Qingshu in the future. This made Tang Qianling even more depressed. Later on, Tang Qianling learned his lesson and tried not to provoke those who were on good terms with Song Qingshu. Although he did not know the reason why the Tang family's patriarch did not stand up for him, it was better than being beaten up and reprimanded. It was only after he grew up that Tang Qianling vaguely understood that although the Song family of the inner martial arts world was not large, they seemed to have unfathomable strength and an unknown background. Even the Awakening Gate did not dare to provoke them, let alone the Tang family. In the past, some ignorant families had dared to provoke them. However, in the end, they did not have a good ending. They either fell apart or declined overnight. However, what was strange was that although the Song family was powerful, they did not expand. They quietly stayed together with the Hong family and a few other small families, forming a small circle of their own. They rarely interacted with other families. Chapter 11:15. Stop putting on an act. This young master is only using ordinary punches and kicks. Otherwise, you would have died a long time ago. Song Qingshu's anger had almost dissipated after being beaten for a while. He rolled his eyes and said angrily. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for being merciful. Qianling will remember it. Tang Qianling covered his head and face and answered incoherently. He didn't even know what he was talking about. Seeing that Tang Qianling's clothes were dirty and torn, and there were several big bumps on his head, he looked very pitiful. Song Qingshu stopped punching and looked down at him, saying, I'll give you 5 minutes to quickly hand over all the people you've captured. I won't say it again. Who do you want me to hand over? Tang Qianling asked subconsciously with a sad face and a dizzy head. He was so dizzy from the beating earlier that he did not understand who Song Qingshu was talking about. Furthermore, he had yet to fully recover from the injuries from Xiao Chen's beating a few days ago. Now that he was beaten up by Song Qingshu, it made things worse. His entire head was in a mess. However, as soon as Tang Qianling opened his mouth to ask, he felt that something was wrong. He looked up and saw that Song Qingshu's face had darkened, and he had raised his fist again. Tang Qianling was shocked again. His brain was instantly stimulated, and he suddenly remembered that Tang Qianqi had indeed taken a few girls back. Don't hit me. Song Qingshu, I remember now. Those girls. I'll bring them over immediately. I guarantee that none of them will be missing. Please wait here for a while. Tang Qianling shouted and hurriedly stood up, dragging his injured body out. As he walked, Tang Qianling muttered in his heart, "Damn it, let me go out and find helpers. Even if you're from the Song family, you'll still have to bear the consequences." Wait. Tang Qianling had only taken a few steps when Song Qingshu grabbed him. "Did I say you can go?" Song Qingshu grabbed the back of Tang Qianling's neck collar and said coldly, "Let Tang Qianqi bring the hostage. You stay here as a hostage. If he doesn't bring her back by then, for every minute that passes, I'll break one of your arms or legs. Do you hear me?" "Yes, yes, yes, I heard it clearly." Tang Qianling felt a chill run down his spine. He shivered and could only dismiss the idea of asking for help. He turned around and saw that Tang Qianqi was still lying there. Second young master Song, Tang Qianqi. Tang Qianling rolled his eyes and wanted to say that since that guy was still unconscious, why not go by himself? What happened to him? "Oh, I forgot to tell you that your 5 minutes have passed by half a minute. I hope your bones can be a little stronger. Don't break with a snap like a twig," Song Qingshu said casually without raising her head. Tang Qianling's throat tightened and he immediately staggered to Tang Qianqi's side. He kicked him hard and shouted, "Don't sleep. Do you think it's comfortable to sleep on the floor? Why don't you hurry up and bring him here? Are you trying to get me killed?" Ouch. Tang Qianqi had actually woken up a long time ago, but the moment he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Qianling being beaten half to death by Song Qingshu. Hongzhu, who was watching from the side with great interest, was scared out of his wits. He thought to himself that he had provoked a tough guy. Wouldn't he be beaten up again if he got up? The point was that he was the one who ordered those girls to be captured, so he was the main culprit if they really wanted to investigate this matter. How could Tang Qianqi dare to get up rashly? He could only choose to continue lying there and pretend to faint. But now that his master had given the order, he naturally had to follow it as a henchman. Otherwise, if he offended Tang Qianling, he wouldn't have a good ending. Although the wounds on his body were still burning with pain, Tang Qianqi could only pretend that he had just woken up. He endured the pain and stood up, limped out of the room, and hurriedly ran to the dungeon. Although Tang Qianling felt that every second in the room felt like a year, he was glad that in less than 3 minutes, Tang Qianqi had brought everyone back. The women looked to be in good condition, and there were no signs of injuries on their bodies. It was obvious that Tang Qianqi hadn't tortured them, but simply imprisoned them. "Huawu, are you okay? Did Tang Qianling do anything to you? Don't be afraid. If you've suffered any grievances, tell me. Second brother definitely won't let them off." When Song Qingshu saw the 3 women enter, he recognized Song Huawu at a glance. His originally cold expression instantly became very warm. He stood up and asked about her well-being as he walked in her direction. When he reached Song Huawu, Song Qingshu stretched out his hand, wanting to take her pulse to check if she had suffered any internal injuries. "You? Who are you? Don't come over." Song Huawu was stunned. She hurriedly took a few steps back and casually picked up a chair beside her to block in front of her. She stared at Song Qingshu vigilantly, feeling vaguely familiar in her heart. This person in front of me. Why does he look a little like me? Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao immediately walked over and leaned close to Song Huawu. They looked at Song Qingshu strangely. Although they felt that Song Qingshu didn't seem to have any evil intentions, they still didn't let their guard down. Song Huawu did not expect Song Huawu to react like this. After a long time, he realized that Song Huawu didn't seem to know him. He immediately felt a little embarrassed. He stretched out one hand in the air, not knowing whether to advance or retreat, and froze. Song Huawu turned her head, glared at Tang Qianqi, and reprimanded, "Tang Qianqi, I knew you didn't have any good intentions. You said you would let us go, but in the end, you brought us here. What tricks are you up to now?" Hongzhu, who was standing aside, was also stunned. He didn't understand why Song Huawu was so agitated, nor did he understand why Song Huawu acted as if she didn't know him. Judging from Song Qingshu's tone, they should be very familiar with each other. However, seeing the current situation, Hongzhu still explained, "Huawu, this is the second young master of the Song family. He heard that you were in trouble, so he came with me to rescue you." "I'm sorry, Huawu, I was too impolite." Song Qingshu took the opportunity to withdraw his hand, touched his nose, stopped, and said apologetically, "I forgot to introduce myself first. I'm Song Qingshu from the Song family of the Internal Wulin, and I'm your second elder brother. But it's a long story. When we go back, I'll slowly tell you the ins and outs of the story." Hearing this, everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Tang Qianling and Tang Qianqi looked at each other in disbelief. How did Song Qingshu become Song Huawu's second elder brother? They had never heard that the Song family had such a beautiful daughter of the third generation. However, Song Qingshu didn't seem to be pretending. What on earth was going on? Chapter 11:16. Tang Qianqi's face was even more colorful. His face turned green and white like a kaleidoscope. He kept wailing in his heart. "I'm doomed. Song Huawu is Song Qingshu's younger sister. He had actually captured her. This time his little life could not be guaranteed." Jean Bebe and the other girls were also full of question marks. Hongzhu was the most surprised. He had been to the Song family often, but he had never heard that Song Qingshu had a younger sister. But when he looked carefully, he found that the two of them did look a little similar. Song Huawu was the one who was most shocked. Her mouth was slightly open, and she looked stunned. She did not even know when the chair had slipped from her hand. Her mind was in a mess. Song Billion had told her that she was an orphan since she was a child. How could she suddenly become a relative of a martial arts practitioner? And they seemed to be very powerful people. This is not a good place to talk. Let's leave first. Song Qingshu completely ignored the strange looks of the people around her. She turned around and glanced at Tang Qianling as if she were looking at a dead man. She said sarcastically, "Master Ling, I'm going to take all of them away now. You won't have any objection, will you?" "No, of course not. We're really in a bad mood. We don't know each other." Tang Qianling still wanted to make friends with her, but when he saw Song Qingshu's glare, he immediately changed the topic and said, "I didn't know the situation before, but now that I know that Miss Song is your younger sister, it's only natural that you take her away. Her friends will also go with her, right? Do you want me to ask someone to send you back to the Song family?" Tang Qianling's smile was extremely forced. He hoped that Song Qingshu would leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would not be able to stand it if she caused more trouble. Song Qingshu snorted disdainfully and ignored his proposal. She directly left Tang Qianling's residence with the girls. She walked through the Tang family's residence deftly as if there was no one around. She did not even run into a single guard and walked out of the back door smoothly. Tang Qianling heaved a huge sigh of relief after making sure that Song Qingshu, the malefic Song Qingshu, had gone far away. He couldn't help but feel furious when he recalled all the bad things that had happened to him recently. When he saw Tang Qianqi standing beside him, he raised his hand and gave him a slap, reprimanding him harshly. If it weren't for the fact that he was still injured, Tang Qianling would have beaten him up. Tang Qianqi was just rejoicing that Song Qingshu didn't have time to punish him before Tang Qianling slapped him so hard that he saw stars. However, in order to continue hugging Tang Qianling's thigh in the future, he could only swallow his anger and obediently listen to the scolding. He didn't even dare to wipe the spittle that splashed on his face. After Tang Qianling was done scolding him, Tang Qianqi obediently brought out medicinal pills to treat his injuries. He also found a few maids to serve him, not daring to complain. "Song Qingshu, you just said that Song Huawu is your sister. What's going on?" After Song Qingshu and the others safely returned to the Hong family, Hongzhu saw that Song Qingshu had no intention of leaving and was still standing there. Song Huawu also seemed to be too embarrassed to say anything, so he took the initiative to ask. What do you mean, what's going on? Huawu is indeed my sister. Song Qingshu had a matter-of-fact expression on his face, as if this matter should be known to everyone. But I've never heard you mention it before. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to her, so you deliberately said that? Hongzhu pursed his lips and reminded him, don't blame me for not telling you, but Huawu has a boyfriend. You'd better give up on that idea. What nonsense are you talking about? How could I have taken a fancy to my sister? I've never mentioned it before because it's a long story, and I can't explain it clearly in a short time, but... Song Qingshu suddenly stopped, and the expression on his face became much more serious. He turned to look at Song Huawu and asked, You have a boyfriend? Song Huawu was startled. Although she was a little uncomfortable with Song Qingshu's serious expression, she still nodded. Song Qingshu immediately frowned and asked, Who is your boyfriend? Which sect is he from? What's his name? How strong is he? Is he stronger than me, your second brother? Has he bullied you before? Has he mistreated you in any way? Song Huawu looked at Song Qingshu with a surprised look on her face. He had asked a lot of questions in one breath, and Hongzhu rolled his eyes as he listened to him. He even regretted bringing up this matter. The other women also looked at Song Qingshu with disdain. They couldn't figure out why a grown man like him would be so long-winded. Humph, my cousin-in-law is awesome. He's the handsome and rich second generation of the Xiao family, and he can even perform magic. Jean Beibei pursed her lips and retorted loudly. Although she did not know Song Qingshu's identity, this guy was too arrogant, wasn't he? He actually compared Xiao Chen with himself. The Xiao family? Song Qingshu carefully recalled and shook his head. I've never heard of such a family in the martial arts circle. Handsome and rich? What's the use of being handsome and rich? He can't even protect his girlfriend. Magic tricks? Does he think that he can match up to my sister with this kind of small tricks? He's too naive. Jean Beibei's fury was immediately ignited. Glaring at Song Qingshu, she waved her fists and shouted, Don't be too arrogant. If my cousin-in-law learns that you dare to hit on Sister Huawu, he will definitely come here and beat you up. With disdain on his face, Song Qingshu sneered. Fine. Just let him come to me. At that time, I want to see who is the one who will beat the other up. Beibei, don't talk nonsense. Xiao Chen is not so barbaric as to pick a fight with other people. Song Huawu comforted Jean Beibei first. Then, she turned around and looked at Song Qingshu. Her face immediately turned cold. She had felt quite close to Song Qingshu before, but the guy's words had touched her sore spot. Her fondness for him immediately plummeted. She bowed to him and said casually, Mr. Song, thank you for saving my life, but I'm just an ordinary person in the secular world. I don't think I'm related to you at all. I think you might have mistaken me for someone else. Sister, why are you so polite to me? Seeing the disgust on Song Huawu's face, Song Qingshu thought that she was unwilling to admit their blood relationship. He hurried to explain, but Song Huawu interrupted him before he opened his mouth. Song Huawu was even more annoyed that Song Qingshu kept calling her sister. She said stiffly, Mr. Song, Xiao Chen and I are in love with each other. I don't think I need to report it to you. Xiao Chen? The Xiao family? My God! Are you talking about the descendant of the Xiao family in the secular world? How can you do that? Song Qingshu suddenly recalled that Song Bilian had once reported to him about the entanglement between Xiao Chen and Huawu. At that time, he did not pay much attention to it, but now he knew that it was true. Chapter 11:17. Song Qingshu put on a straight face and advised sternly, Huawu, you're a disciple of the Song family in the martial arts world. Although you haven't been recognized by the family, you can't hang out with a kid from the secular world. That's too embarrassing. Song. Gong. Z. I've already said that I'm not your sister. And no matter who I want to be with, it's my freedom. I'm afraid that's none of your business. Song Huawu clenched her fists tightly. Her trembling body showed how angry she was. Although Song Huawu was very grateful to Song Qingshu for saving her, this guy was too shameless. Not only did he look down on Xiao Chen and belittled him, but he also tried to stop her from falling in love with him freely. Even if Song Qingshu was really her brother, he was too controlling. That's right, Huawu is right. Hongzhu, who had been neutral, could not stand it anymore. Song Qingshu was too arrogant. She could not hold back and said, Song Qingshu, don't be in a hurry to stop other people's marriages. How did Song Huawu become your sister? Not to mention her, even I haven't heard about this from you. Can you explain it to me first? If you want to recognize her as a relative, you have to know the ins and outs, right? This. Song Qingshu was silent for a while. Finally, he looked at Song Huawu and said, actually, Huawu is my half-sister. However, back then, the family was very opposed to my father's relationship with Huawu's mother. They were unwilling to acknowledge Huawu's existence, so my father had no choice but to secretly send her to the secular world. Then how do you know that Song Huawu is your sister? What if they have the same name? Xiao Xiao asked. The girls nodded. They wanted to know the answer to this question too. Because I knew about Huawu a long time ago, Song Qingshu said honestly. When I found out about this, I specially sent Pang Billion. Song Billion to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau to protect her. However, this guy is too selfish, so I taught him a few lessons. Deputy Bureau Chief Song. You sent him? Song Huawu asked doubtfully. Song Qingshu nodded calmly. Seeing that Song Huawu still did not believe him, he added, Huawu, you were shot once, right? When I received the news, I specially went to the hospital to visit you and gave Song Billion a small rejuvenation pill. Huawu, if you still don't believe me, you can call Song Billion and ask him. He knows this very well. Song Huawu subconsciously took out her phone and found Song Billion's number. She looked at the screen and hesitated for a while, not knowing if she should call him. She really wanted to know the truth, but she was also a little afraid. She was afraid that if things were really as Song Qingshu said, she would not be able to accept it. Huawu, I understand how you feel, but the blood of the Song family flows in your veins. This is something that no one can change. Song Qingshu softened his tone when he saw that Song Huawu was wavering. If you're really Dancing Flower Sister's brother, I don't think you're qualified to be one. Huawu has suffered so much in the secular world. Why didn't you bring her back? If we weren't arrested today, you wouldn't have done anything. Jean Beibei snorted and protested angrily. Yes. I admit that I'm not qualified. Back then, Song Qingshu, was just a second young master. I was not valued by the family, and I didn't have much say. I could only secretly send people to protect you. I didn't even dare to tell the public that I had a sister. Song Qingshu clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. But it's different now. Now, I have some status in the Song family, and I've made up my mind. I'll bring you back sooner or later, and you'll be the eldest miss of the Song family. When the women heard Song Qingshu's emotional words, Jean Beibei and Xiao Xiao were slightly moved. Hongzhu was extremely shocked. She had seen Song Qingshu's hard work in the past few years. She thought that he was trying to climb up the social ladder for the sake of power. She didn't expect him to have such a reason. On the contrary, Song Huawu did not have much reaction after hearing what he said. She lowered her head and thought for a while. Then, she asked calmly, okay, even if what you said is true, let me ask you. Where is my mother now? If you can bring her to see me, I'll believe everything you said. She has passed away. Song Qingshu's face turned a little gloomy when he heard Song Huawu's question. It seemed that he was unwilling to talk about this topic. After pondering for a while, he forced a smile and changed the topic. Even if your mother is gone, you're still my sister. I'll never give up on you. Why don't you come back to the Song family with me now? Father will be very happy. He has long. He's your father, not mine. Song Huawu suddenly became very emotional. She waved her hand to stop Song Qingshu's persuasion. Pointing at him, she asked word by word, "Tell me the truth. Why did my mother die? And why didn't your father protect her well?" Song Qingshu was very embarrassed. He did not know how to tell the truth. After thinking for a while, he could only comfort her with kind words. Huawu, actually, I think, there are some problems. We might as well think more optimistically, don't say those useless things. How on earth did my mother die? Tell me quickly. Otherwise, I'll leave now. I guarantee that you'll never find me again in this life. Don't ever think that I'll be your sister again. Before Song Qingshu finished speaking, Song Huawu interrupted him and shouted loudly. The other women present were all shocked. They did not expect that Song Huawu, who usually looked cold and quiet and spoke softly, could be so terrifying when she was angry. Although they could understand Song Huawu's feelings at the moment, they did not dare to step forward to persuade her. They could only look at each other, not knowing what to do. Song Qingshu's expression was not very good either. Seeing Song Huawu's unusual emotional fluctuations, he knew that this matter had left a deep scar in her heart. Thinking about it, any orphan who had no parents would find it difficult to control their emotions when they suddenly found out that they had a father and a mother, and that one of them was living well. A girl like Song Huawu, who was used to shouldering everything by herself, had an extremely fragile heart under her strong exterior. When she heard that her mother had passed away and that her father had sent her to the secular world, turning her into an orphan, and that she could not find any traces of Xiao Chen and was threatened to be arrested by the Tang clan, even someone as calm as her finally broke down under the pressure. Chapter 11:18. Looking at Song Huawu pitifully, Song Qingshu wanted to say something but hesitated. However, things had already come to this point, and it was clear that there was no room for redemption. He could only take a deep breath and said bitterly, "That year, Grandpa ordered your mother to be expelled from the Song family. Your mother was as tenacious as you, so she did not plead with anyone. Without saying anything, she left with you, who was still a baby. Later, what happened later?" Song Huawu's voice was a little hoarse. She had already vaguely guessed what happened later. Song Qingshu shook his head helplessly and said, When my father found her, she had already committed suicide. Only you, who was sleeping soundly, and a handwritten letter were left behind." Although she was prepared in her heart, Song Huawu still felt like a bolt from the blue. Her body softened and she almost fell. Fortunately, Hongzhu, who was standing not far from her, reached out and supported her. Only then did she manage to stand up. Seeing this, Song Qingshu sighed. He carefully took out a yellowed envelope from his arms and handed it to Song Huawu. He said with a heavy expression, "After my father witnessed this scene, he was greatly stimulated. He was extremely depressed and drowned his sorrows in alcohol all day long. He never had the courage to open this letter." Song Huawu stared at the envelope. For a moment, she did not dare to reach out to take it. She only felt that her mind was in chaos. "Later, my father gave this letter to me and sent you to the secular world. He also repeatedly told me that I must send someone to take good care of you. If there is this opportunity in the future, I will take out the letter and give it to you." Song Qingshu told him everything that happened after that. Then, he fell silent and looked at Song Huawu quietly. Song Huawu took the envelope with trembling hands. She felt that her hands were extremely heavy. She looked down at the envelope and saw the words, Meng Xiao's last words, written in blood. Only then did she know that her biological mother's name was so beautiful. The beautiful handwriting contrasted with the dark red blood, revealing a kind of sadness and despair. Song Huawu stared blankly at the envelope and did not move for a long time. Drip. When a crystal-clear teardrop fell on the envelope, Song Huawu realized that her face was already covered in tears. At this moment, she finally understood that her mother's name was no longer important. She had long disappeared from this world, and she would never have the chance to see her again. Huawu, it's already happened. Don't be too sad. Since Song Qingshu is so sincere and wants to invite you back to the Song family, why don't you consider it? Hongzhu walked over, pulled the grief-stricken Song Huawu into his arms, and said in a low voice, after all, he and his father haven't had a good time these past few years. Just take it as a chance to make it up to them. It's Sister Ao Huawu. Although the Song family's patriarch and that man are quite heartless, you are still related by blood. You are all a family. How about this? You can spend their money extravagantly after you get there. Consider it your revenge. Jean Bebe thought for a moment and added, besides, you still have my cousin-in-law. Even if you make the Song family bankrupt, my cousin-in-law will support you for the rest of your life. Sister Bebe, don't make a fuss. Don't you know where you are? Xiao Xiao glanced at Jean Bebe. She wanted to comfort Song Huawu, but her eyes turned red the moment she opened her mouth. It was because Xiao Xiao was the one who could sympathize with Song Huawu the most among all the people on the spot. She was an orphan herself. Had it not been for the Xiao family, her ending would probably have been even worse than Song Huawu's. Seeing that Song Huawu was crying so hard right now, she was touched, too, and could not say anything for a moment. Song Huawu cried for a while longer and finally stopped crying. She wiped the tears on her face and suddenly said, I will not go back to the Song family. Huh? Hongzhu and Jean Bebe exclaimed at the same time, with puzzled expressions on their faces. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, did not say anything but simply nodded. Xiao Xiao could understand Song Huawu. If Xiao Xiao had been driven out by her family and suddenly said that she would accept her, she would not have been able to accept it either. Besides, Song Huawu had been living alone for such a long time. She was even more reluctant to accept it emotionally. Huawu, you. Song Qingshu opened his mouth hesitantly, but he did not know what to say. Song Huawu had calmed down. She carefully put away the envelope and raised her head, saying coldly, I don't care about the title of Miss Song, and I don't care how powerful the Song family is in the internal martial arts circle. Since my mother and I were driven out years ago, I have nothing to do with the Song family now. The purpose of my coming to the internal martial arts circle this time is to find Xiao Chen. I'm not interested in anything else. Looking at Song Huawu's cold expression, Song Qingshu said helplessly, Huawu, I know you're upset. Although Grandpa made a wrong decision, the Song family is your final home. I also know that you may not be able to accept this fact now, but I still hope that you can consider my invitation carefully. Song Qingshu knew that the Song family was in the wrong in this matter, and he also knew that Song Huawu would not go back with him obediently, so he did not force her. Song Huawu shook her head and said lightly, Young Master Song, I've made it very clear. Please go back. She had been an orphan since she was young and did not have much sense of belonging to her family. Since her mother was no longer in this world, she did not want to return to that inhumane family. Only by finding Xiao Chen and staying by his side would she be able to bring her a trace of comfort. However, after ordering her guest to leave, Song Huawu remembered that she was in the Hong family. She put away her gloomy mood and forced an apologetic smile on her face. She turned to Hongzhu and said, Hongzhu, can you arrange a room for us to stay in? I'm a little tired and would like to rest early. We still have to continue looking for Xiao Chen tomorrow. Yes, no problem. Come with me. Hongzhu readily agreed and left the hall with Song Huawu and the other women. When they walked out of the room, she secretly turned around and gave Song Qingshu a look, indicating that he should go back first and leave the rest to her for the time being. Song Qingshu nodded. He also felt that it was not suitable for him to stay in the Hong family any longer, lest he caused Song Huawu a second time. He could only leave the Hong family unhappily and return to the Song family to inform his father. Hundreds of miles away from the Hong family, in the forest near the open heaven gate, Xiao Chen was hiding behind a large tree with Xing Las, Tian Wangshou, and the other women. Chapter 11-19. Xiao Chen released his divine sense and carefully examined the surrounding environment. He discovered that there were many guards patrolling outside of Awakening Heaven Gate. There were also a few experts hiding vigilantly in the shadows. It seemed that the security was very tight. However, no matter how powerful an expert was, it was not enough in front of a cultivator like Xiao Chen. He roughly estimated that if he wanted to quietly sneak into Awakening Heaven Gate, as long as he grasped the right timing, it should not be too difficult. However, the sky was not completely dark yet. Furthermore, little girl Xing had just mentioned that in another half an hour, the patrolling guards would be changing shifts. Therefore, for the sake of safety, Xiao Chen decided to wait a while before entering. Elder Sun lives in the courtyard on the west side. The courtyard on the east side is where sect leader Situ lives. Little girl Xing picked up a branch and drew a simple layout of Awakening Heaven Gate on the ground. She pointed to a location and said, "You can sneak in from this place. The security here is relatively lax. As for me, I will not go in to avoid arousing Elder Sun's suspicions." Actually, little girl Xing was still in a state of confusion. She did not know if she should help Xiao Chen solve his problem or stand on Awakening Heaven Gate's side to protect the sect. Unable to make a decision, she simply pushed the matter aside and did not plan on going in with Xiao Chen. Otherwise, if she met disciples of the sect that she was familiar with, it would be hard for her to explain. "I say, little girl Xing, what is your full name?" Xiao Chen glanced at the sloppy map and suddenly raised his head, asking with interest. Why are you suddenly asking this?" Little girl Xing was startled. She did not understand what Xiao Chen was playing at. That's right. If my husband Xiao Chen didn't mention it, Sister Sour wouldn't have noticed. I don't even know your full name. Tian Sour also added, "Tell us your name. Otherwise, if we keep calling you little girl Xing or young master lady boy, how unfriendly would that be? It's better to call you by your name, or we can call you Xing." Tian Sour pinched his chin and repeated the two words, Xing, a few times. He felt that it was quite smooth to say. Xiao Chen shrugged and said, "I've known you for so long, and I only know that you have the nickname of Young Master Yao. Others also call you Young Master Xing, but that can't be your real name, right? Tell me your full name so that I know how to address you in the future. What do you think? Weren't you the one who gave me the nickname Prince Ladyboy? You still have the nerve to say it out loud." Little Miss Xing angrily rebuked. Then, she intentionally turned her head and looked at the open heaven gate not far away, as if she was unwilling to mention her own name. "If it weren't for the fact that you always look like a woman dressed as a man, why would I give you such a nickname?" Xiao Chen had an innocent look on his face as he said in all seriousness, "Furthermore, how awkward would it look for a girl to wear men's clothing every day? Besides, some places are wrapped too tightly and airtight. It will shrink very easily." After he finished speaking, Xiao Chen put on a, "you know what I'm talking about," expression and glanced at a certain part of Miss Xing with a smirk. "What shrink? I didn't wrap it too tightly, right?" Little Miss Xing was confused at first, but when she saw Xiao Chen staring at the area in front of her, she instantly understood what he meant. Her face became as red as a piece of cloth, and she angrily scolded, "You bastard, where are you looking at? So what if I like wearing men's clothing? What does that have to do with you?" "Shoo!" Tian Souring jumped in fright and hurriedly raised his index finger to his lips, making a shushing gesture. He pointed to a place not far away and said in a low voice, "Xing Xing, don't speak so loudly. Look, even the patrolling guards have been lured over by you. Aya, what should we do? If they discover us, we'll be in trouble. Sister Xiaoring doesn't want to die yet." Little Miss Xing also sensed that the situation was not good. She hurriedly extended her hand to cover her mouth, but in her panic, she subconsciously took a step back. She accidentally stepped on a branch under her foot, making a crisp, "Kacha" sound. She was so scared that her whole body trembled, and her heart trembled. "Who's there?" The group of guards happened to be patrolling nearby, and when they heard the commotion, they loudly shouted. They vigilantly stared at the place where the sound came from, and cautiously approached. Seeing that the guards were getting closer and closer, little Miss Xing was anxious and prepared to take the initiative to step out. After all, she was a member of Awakening Heaven sect, so the guards wouldn't suspect her too much. She would first send them away before anything else. However, before little Miss Xing could step out, Xiaochen pulled her back, smiled, and snapped his fingers. Then, he quietly stood in the same spot, leisurely and not at all worried. Little Miss Xing was about to go crazy. She didn't know why Xiaochen would pull her back and not let her go, but since things had already developed to this point, she could only close her eyes and wait for the guards to come over before making a move. However, as she waited, she heard the approaching footsteps gradually fading away. Little Miss Xing was greatly astonished. She opened her eyes and carefully peeked her head out to take a look. To her surprise, she discovered that the guards had all turned around and returned to their original patrolling positions. It was as if nothing had happened. "Wah wah. Husband Xiaochen, you are really too amazing. You can control so many people at once." Tian Xiaoring cheered and gave a thumbs up to Xiaochen. Then, she pounced on him and gave him a kiss on the cheek. Then, with a face full of yearning, she said, "When can Sister Xiaoring learn this move? Then, I will be able to dominate the martial arts world, he he he." Alright. Don't show off your love in public. Is it fun or not?" Little Miss Xing's heart had just returned to her stomach when she turned around and saw this scene. She couldn't help but say in a bad mood, "TSK, you are obviously envious, jealous, and hateful. Just now, you were the one who was careless and lured the guards over. If it wasn't for husband Xiaochen, Sister Xiaoring would definitely be exposed." Tian Xiaoring rolled her eyes and thought to herself, "So what if I show off my love? In the future, I still want to practice 3 cultivation and 4 cultivation with husband Xiaochen." Xiaochen shrugged his shoulders carelessly. Even if there were a few more of these low-level guards, he could use his mind control to control them all. It wasn't a problem at all. Little Miss Xing directly ignored Tian Xiaoring. She looked down at the direction of the shadows and calculated the time. Then, she pointed at the dazed Tang Tang and said to Xiaochen, "Alright, it's almost time to change shifts. Xiaochen, hurry up and get ready. You can go in 5 minutes. Remember to bring Tang Tang along. Be careful when you go in. Isn't there still 5 minutes? What's the rush?" Xiaochen stretched his body and suddenly thought of something. He asked, "Oh right, Little Miss Xing, you haven't answered the question I asked you just now. What is your name? Why is it so difficult to know your name?" Chapter 11:20. Xing Gongzi. My name is Xing Gongzi. Isn't it just a name? There was no end to the questions, it was so annoying. Didn't I say it when we were at Lanqing University? Do you have amnesia? Xing girl said impatiently. She was obviously very dissatisfied with her name. But she couldn't do anything about it. Everyone called her that since she was young, so she could only accept it passively. N? Your name is Young Master Xing? Xiaochen was stunned for a moment, but he quickly recalled the self-introduction that Xing Chick had given him during class at Lanqing University. He immediately burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, your name is really not bad. I will also change my name to Xiao Gongzi in the future. It sounds so cool. No, 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 I want to change my name to Handsome Brother Xiao. Only then will it match my attributes. Go away, stop fooling around. Look, the guards over there are starting to change shifts. You should hurry and take Tang Tang in. Tian Suruan will wait for you here with me. It will definitely be fine. Go and come back quickly. Don't waste time. Xing girl waved her hand helplessly. She couldn't be bothered to argue with Xiao Chen. It was more important to get down to business. Seeing that there was movement at the gate, Xiao Chen nodded and put away his playful thoughts. He picked up Tang Tang and prepared to walk in the direction of Qitian Gate. But just as he took a step, he suddenly felt the phone in his pocket vibrate. At first, Xiao Chen thought that someone sent him a WeChat message, so he didn't pay much attention and continued to walk forward. However, after Xiao Chen took a few steps, he felt that the phone still didn't stop vibrating. This was obviously not WeChat. It seemed that someone should be calling him. After hesitating, Xiao Chen turned around and put Tang Tang down first. Then, he took out his phone and glanced at it. Jia Muzin's name was displayed on the phone. Xiao Chen was a little surprised, but he still pressed the answer button. Xiao Chen, where are you now? Something big happened to the Jia family. Before Xiao Chen could speak, Jia Muzin on the other end of the phone said impatiently, and his voice sounded very urgent. What's going on? I'm now near the open heaven gate. Don't be too anxious. Tell me what happened. Xiao Chen frowned and pulled Tang Tang with his other free hand. He walked back and thought that it was fortunate that he had not yet entered the open heaven gate, otherwise it would be troublesome. Seeing that Xiao Chen hadn't gone far before returning with his phone, Miss Xing and Tian Suruan looked at each other in bewilderment. Since there was no one around them, it was very quiet. Xiao Chen's phone was very loud, and they could also hear Jia Muzin's anxious voice on the other end of the phone. It sounded like something really serious had happened. Just now, Jia Yubian brought a group of people and injured Grandpa. They even captured Jia Tuyao, Jia Yuto, and other family members. Only me and the others saw that the situation was not good and escaped into the secret passage. Jia Muzin lowered his voice and said hurriedly, now the Jia family is basically under the control of Jia Yubian's people. They are searching around outside. They should be here to catch me and the others. Jia Muzin's voice sounded very nervous, and he kept panting. It should be because he escaped in a hurry and hadn't recovered yet. Motherf **Ker, I didn't expect Turtle Whip to have so many tricks up his sleeve. I should have killed them directly before. Xiao Chen suddenly became furious and scolded fiercely. Considering that Jia Muzin's situation was more urgent, he immediately said, where are you now? I'll rush back immediately. Jia Muzin said in a low voice, we are in a secret passage in the backyard of the Jia family. It should be quite safe for the time being, boom. Before Jia Muzin's voice had died away, Xiao Chen heard a sudden loud noise on the other end of the phone, and then came Jia Yubian's sinister laughter, ha ha ha. You two stinking brats, really hiding here? What, did you think I couldn't find you? I might as well tell you that I was responsible for building this secret passage. What a complete idiot. Jia Muzin and the Jiaranzhong were both shaken to the ground by the huge impact, and their phones fell to the side. Fortunately, they didn't hang up, and Xiao Chen could still hear the conversation between the two sides. Jia Yubian. I didn't expect you to be so despicable. You actually joined forces with outsiders to injure my grandfather, and even imprison most of the Jia family. What do you want? Jia Muzin glared at Jia Yubian and shouted loudly. He. What do I want? Why don't you ask your grandfather what he wants? Jia Yubian laughed strangely and spat. He looked coldly at Jia Muzin and the Jiaranzhong, and said with a gloomy face, that old thing should have died long ago. I have made so many contributions to the Jia family, and I have worked hard for everything. I didn't expect him to be so muddle-headed as to side with you two stinking brats who have no strength and ability. He even refused to let Hui Yen be the successor. He is really King blind. The successor is personally chosen by grandfather through a family competition. Since Jia Huiyan doesn't have the ability, then you can't blame others for being too outstanding, because others are more suitable than him for this position. At this time, Jia Renzhong also said angrily, Jia Yubian, you have done such a disgraceful thing. Are you not afraid of being struck by lightning? Jia Muzan propped himself up and helped Jia Renzhong up as well. He glared at Jia Yubian, wishing he could just slap him to death with a single palm. What a joke. I think the ones to be struck to death should be the two of you, right? You two bastards, what qualifications do you have to lecture me? Why don't you take a look at your own situation? You are simply courting death. Jia Yubian sneered and slowly walked in front of Jia Muzan and the Jia Renzhong. He raised his hand and gave each of them a slap. Pa! Pa! The left side of their faces turned red at the same time, and blood flowed out from the corners of their mouths. However, the two of them moved in unison. Neither of them revealed any expression of fear. Instead, they both clenched their teeth and fiercely glared at Jia Yubian. Enough, don't talk nonsense with these two brats. Hurry up and capture them. Prepare for the next step of the plan. Jia Yubian still wanted to make a move, but a black-clothed man behind him suddenly said indifferently and then waved his hand. The other black-clothed men immediately rushed forward and quickly and efficiently tied up Jia Muzan and the Jia Renzhong. They were escorted out of the secret passage, and then the black-clothed men also left. Jia Yubian was about to follow them when he suddenly saw a glimmer of light on the ground not far away. He was a little surprised and walked over to take a look. He discovered that it was the phone that Jia Muzan had thrown away. On it was Xiao Chen's name, and it was still in a call state. Chapter 11:21. Jia Yubian's expression did not change. He proudly picked up the phone and said with a smirk, Yo, Xiao Chen. You must have heard the conversation just now, right? If you still regard Jia Muzan as your friend, come back to the Jia family and let's sit down and have a good talk. Turtle Whip, I can give you a chance. Now immediately release Jia Muzan and the Jia Renzhong, and then take your disabled son and roll out of the Jia family. Otherwise, when I get back, don't even think about having a good ending. Xiao Chen clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth as he spat out each word. Originally, he did not want to negotiate with Jia Yubian. After all, it was not easy for him to reach Qitian Gate and he could cure Tang Tang immediately. It would be best if they could solve it peacefully. However, it seemed that Xiao Chen's attempt did not have any effect. Ha 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 ha. When Jia Yubian heard Xiao Chen's warning, he was not angry but laughed. He provoked arrogantly, it seems that you are as stupid as that idiot Jia Muzan. Now his life is in my hands. What qualifications do you have to negotiate with me? Are you out of your mind? Turtle Whip, you will regret your choice now. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. His rage surged to the top of his head, and he wished that he could immediately dismember Jia Yubian and execute him. Xiao Chen, since you said you have a choice, I might as well give you two choices now. Jia Yubian felt the anger of Xiao Chen on the other end of the phone. It was as comfortable as drinking a can of cold soda on a hot summer day. He said slowly, the first is that you can never come back to the Jia family. The second is that you come and kowtow to me a few times, and then break your own tendons and vessels. But according to my understanding of you, I think you will choose the second one, and be a righteous idiot. Ha ha ha. Oh, I choose the third one, which is to go back and torture you until you beg for death. Finally, I give you a suggestion. Hurry up and prepare 2 Nanmu coffins, one for you and the other for your stupid son. After Xiao Chen said coldly, he directly hung up the phone and began to think about the next plan. TSK. What the hell? You only know how to act cool until now. Jia Yubian didn't seem to care at all. He threw Jia Muzin's phone to the ground and stomped on it a few times. Only when the phone was trampled on and turned into scrap did he swagger out of the secret room. In the forest outside the open heaven gate, little Miss Xing and the others stood uneasily in place, watching Xiao Chen. Just now, the conversation between Xiao Chen and Jia Yubian was heard by Miss Xing and Tian Wangchuan without missing a single word. The two girls saw that after Xiao Chen put down his phone, he kept frowning as if he was thinking about something. They looked at each other and didn't dare to speak. They could only stand there quietly and wait. After waiting for a while, Xiao Chen seemed to have made a decision. He raised his head and looked at Xing Gongzi. He said, "Xing Gongzi, you must have heard the phone call just now. I'm going back to the Jia clan immediately. However, you don't have to go back with me. I have other things for you to do." "What is it?" Xing Gongzi asked subconsciously. "Help me steal some information from the open heaven gate. It's about the experimental drug Tang Tang. Since I can't directly go to Elder Sun to get the antidote, I can only start from other aspects. I want to see if there's any relevant information that I can take out and study." Xiao Chen said lightly. He didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. "Okay, no problem. Hurry up and go save Jia Muzin and the others. Leave the matter of Tang Tang to me." Xing Gongzi didn't even think about it and directly nodded in agreement. However, she immediately regretted it. She was a little annoyed. Why did she listen to Xiao Chen so much? What was the situation just now? Why did I suddenly agree to it? Well, then I'll leave it to you. After you've successfully obtained the information, we'll contact each other again. Xiao Chen wanted to pat Xing Gongzi's shoulder, but his hands suddenly stopped in midair. He turned around and touched her little head. He said softly, "But the most important thing is to pay attention to your safety. If it's really difficult to get, don't take too big of a risk. Just give up. If worst comes to worst, I'll come back again." "Oh. I know." Xing Gongzi's little face inexplicably blushed. She bit her lower lip and wanted to say something. However, she couldn't say anything in the end. She could only nod and watch as Xiao Chen left. Xiao Chen was wholeheartedly thinking about Jia Muzin's safety. He didn't notice the change in Xing Gongzi's expression. He quickly took out his flying sword and brought Tang Tang and Tian Suruan onto it. He also stepped on it and urged his mental power. Whoosh! He broke through the air and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. Although there was a lot of movement, the guards nearby were all changing shifts. No one noticed the movement of the flying sword. Xing Gongzi took a deep breath and calmed her emotions. Then, she put on a cold face and slowly walked towards the open heaven gate. The calm Xing Gongzi's heart was violently churning. She couldn't understand her own actions no matter how she thought about it. How could I so easily agree to Xiao Chen's request? And I even promised him to steal the sect's secret information. Isn't this too dangerous? Sigh. If I had known earlier, I would have thought it through first. Now that he had already run away, there was no turning back. I had to do it even if I didn't want to. Damn Xiao Chen, stinky Xiao Chen. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Why did you have to touch my head for no reason? I'm not a kitten or a puppy. I'm also not your pet. How can you touch me whenever you want? This is really infuriating. While her mind was letting her imagination run wild, Xing Gongzi unknowingly walked into the open heaven gate. Although the guards were changing shifts, some people saw her. However, everyone recognized this lone sect disciple. Therefore, no one went up to question her. Looking at the scattered buildings in the distance, Xing Gongzi lightly sighed. Since she had already returned, she could only think of a way to trick Elder Sun over. Then, she could plan to steal the information. Xiaofan rode on the flying sword and flew at full speed for 2 days. When he passed by the heavenly jade mine, he discovered that it was still not under Jia Yubian's control. He quickly landed and found Jia Hongyong to get some spirit jades to replenish his strength. Then, he continued to rush towards the Jia clan. Jia Hongyong didn't know what had happened for the time being, and Xiaofan didn't tell him much either. He only warned him to keep a close eye on him, and not to let anyone he wasn't familiar with or not on Jia Muzin's side into the mine. Jia Hongyong didn't know what was going on. However, he still listened to Xiaofan's words. He immediately agreed and specially increased the number of guards in the mine. Xiaofan flew for a while. It wasn't until the second night that he finally arrived near the Jia clan. He first found a safe place and put Tian Suruan and Tang Tang down. After making proper arrangements for them, he gave the token that controlled Tang Tang to Tian Suruan for safekeeping and told her to take good care of Tang Tang. Chapter 11:22. He was now going to the Jia family to rescue people. At present, the entire Jia family should be under Jia Yubian's control. The specific situation was still unknown. Xiaofan did not intend to bring the weak Tian Suruan and the confused Tang Tang in. Otherwise, it would be easy to make mistakes and he would not be able to protect them if he was careless. Although Tian Suruan was usually stubborn, he was very obedient at critical moments. He did not pester Xiaofan endlessly. Instead, he told him to be careful and come back early. Then, he obediently stayed where he was. After making all the necessary preparations, Xiaofan set up a monitoring formation and seized the time to sneak into the Jia family under the cover of night. However, out of caution, Xiaofan did not rush in rashly. Instead, he first used his divine sense to check the location of Jia Muzin and the others. After looking around, he discovered that other than Jia Muzin, who was tied up in the hall by Jia Yubian and personally guarded by people, the others were locked up in Jia Muzin's room in the courtyard. Furthermore, there were 2 men in black standing guard outside the door. After thinking for a while, Xiaofan decided to rescue the others first. After all, Jia Muzin had more people on his side. If he went to rescue them directly, it would easily alarm the enemy. It was safer to rescue the others first. Thinking of this, Xiaofan directly rode the flying sword and quietly came to the top of the courtyard. At present, he still did not know the strength of the 2 men in black. With the mentality of giving it a try, Xiaofan released his mind power to control all of them. If he succeeded, there would be no need to use force. Unfortunately, the reality was often not so smooth. When Xiaofan's mind power invaded the bodies of the men in black, he was shocked to find that he could not control their behavior at all. What was going on? Ever since Xiaofan learned to use mind power, he had never encountered a situation where he could not control it. Just as he was puzzled, the 2 black-robed men seemed to have noticed something amiss. Whoosh! Whoosh! Hearing the sound of something breaking through the air, the 2 men in black turned around and looked up at the same time. They slapped heavily at Xiaofan, who was standing in the air. Fortunately, Xiaofan was still vigilant and reacted in time. He controlled the flying sword to dodge the 2 strong chis. At this time, there was no meaning in staying in the air. Xiaofan simply landed in front of the black-robed man. It seems like you're quite capable. You're only at level 5 honorable realm, but you were able to discover my location so quickly. Xiaofan said calmly. However, in his heart, he felt that these 2 men in black were not simple. First of all, based on the fact that he couldn't control them, this wasn't something an ordinary venerable could do. According to the Elder Heaven Ancestor, his mental strength should be able to suppress a venerable of the same level. Secondly, they were able to sense the abnormality so quickly, and directly determine that Xiaofan was in the air from the source of the spiritual power release, and then instantly counterattack. This was even more unbelievable. This was the first time Xiaofan had encountered such a situation. When the 2 men in black saw Xiaofan, they did not respond to his probing. Instead, they charged at him from both sides without a word. Then, they each slapped their palms towards Xiao Chen's chest and head. The two fierce palms were obviously using their full strength. It seemed like they were planning to kill Xiao Chen in one blow. Xiao Chen originally wanted to find out some information, but he didn't expect the two men to attack him so quickly. However, his reaction was also very fast. Although his opponents were only at level 5 honorable realm, he didn't dare to be careless. Both his palms struck out with all his strength towards the two men in black. Bang! The three palms collided with each other, producing a muffled sound. It was clearly two palms, but it sounded like there was only one sound. However, to Xiao Chen's surprise, the two men in black acted as if nothing had happened. They were only pushed back a few steps, and their faces were expressionless. It seemed like they were not affected at all. On the other hand, Xiao Chen was almost sent flying. He took a few steps back to alleviate the impact. He felt his palms go numb, and his internal organs were churning. His throat tasted sweet, and he almost vomited blood. Xiao Chen cursed in his heart. Was this really a level 5 honorable realm? Even when he was fighting Jia Jinyan, he was only at this level. Moreover, he had used almost 100% of his strength just now. Why did it seem like it didn't have any effect on them? Xiao Chen wanted to adjust his breathing for a while to calm the chaotic qi and blood in his body. However, just as he regained his footing, the men in black attacked him again, one from the front and one from the back. This time, they didn't attack at the same time. Instead, they split into two groups. The former attacked Xiao Chen twice, while the latter observed closely from the side, waiting for an opportunity to attack. They were ready to block Xiao Chen's escape route at any time. Motherf ****. Don't be fooled by the fact that the two of you don't know how to talk. You're pretty good at cooperating. Xiao Chen cursed. First, he rolled to the side, dodging the attack of the first black-clothed man. However, before he could land and stand up straight, the second black-clothed man's attack followed him like a shadow. Bang! At that moment, Xiao Chen's center of gravity was unstable. He couldn't defend himself in time. Even though he had already circulated his primordial qi to protect himself, he still took the full brunt of the attack. He was sent flying a few meters away and landed heavily on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Without waiting for Xiao Chen to stand up, the two men in black turned around again, assumed a fighting stance, and charged straight at him. Xiao Chen was at his wits' end. Even though the men in black only displayed the strength of a level 5 honorable, their martial arts techniques could reach the power of a level 8 or even level 9 honorable. They were almost at the level of a perfected honorable. Previously, when he was fighting with Jia Jinyan, a perfected honorable, Xiao Chen had only gained a slight advantage by relying on the Elder Heaven Ancestor's possession. However, under the pincer attack of the two men in black, even if the Elder Heaven Ancestor came out to help him, he might not have a chance of winning. Master, don't worry. I'll help you kill them. Just as Xiao Chen was at his wits' end, a voice rang out in his mind. Then, a ball of bluish-purple flames came out of his body and stopped in front of Xiao Chen for a while. It was the flame of the underworld that he hadn't seen for a long time. The flame of the underworld was different from before. The color of the flames was extremely thick, and the huge ball of flames burned brightly in the air. Its aura was quite terrifying. As Xiao Chen's strength increased, the flame of the underworld also had the strength of an honorable after it awakened. After pausing for a moment, it immediately split into two and pounced at the two men in black. But what caused Xiao Chen to be taken aback was that when the two black-clothed men saw the two balls of flames aggressively attacking towards them, not only did they not show the slightest bit of fear, they even increased their speed and continued to rush towards him. It was as if in their eyes, their only goal was to kill Xiao Chen. Everything else was just fleeting clouds. Who? The men in black did not dodge. The two balls of flame of the underworld smashed directly onto their bodies and immediately set them on fire. Chapter 1123. Xiaochen was surprised to find that the flame of the underworld could penetrate their clothes and burst into countless sparks on their bodies, burning them up. The two black-clothed men instantly became flaming men, but the strange thing was, even though their skin and flesh were already making sizzling sounds, the two of them did not let out any screams, as if they did not feel any pain. They still brandished their palms in a straight line towards Xiaochen. Just as the palm wind from the black-clothed men was about to touch Xiaochen's body, the flames burning on their bodies suddenly surged. In the blink of an eye, they were burned to ashes along with their bones. Xiaochen only felt a gust of wind blow past, and then he saw two pieces of black clothes fluttering to the ground. The entire scene was extremely strange. "Damn, Nethery, isn't your new skill a little too overbearing? The people are burned, but the clothes are still there. It feels like a horror movie. I'll give you 5 yuan for this special effect." Xiaochen looked down at the black clothes on the ground, and then looked at the flame of the underworld floating in the air. He could not help but give a thumbs up and praise. Actually, it's nothing. The key is that Master's level has been greatly improved, so I can also benefit from it. The two flame of the underworld made a naughty laugh, then turned a circle in the air, gradually merged into a ball, and slowly got into Xiaochen's body. Xiaochen looked down and found that he did not get any sparks. It seemed that the flame of the underworld could be released to the target. Elder Heaven Ancestor, who are these two people? With the danger averted, Xiaochen heaved a long sigh of relief. He asked, could they be mutes? It doesn't feel like it. Not only did my mind control not work on them, but they were also lit by Nethery. They didn't know pain and rushed to me like a kamikaze team. They really dared to die. Xiaochen said as he squatted down and rummaged in the two black clothes, trying to find some clues. But he did not find anything that could prove the identity of the men in black, so he could only throw the clothes aside gloomily. Well, have you noticed that they have a lot in common with Tang Tang? I guess these two are also the victims of that experimental potion. Not only do they not feel pain, but their hidden strength is also much higher than they look. Elder Heaven Ancestor calmly analyzed as he recalled Tang Tang's appearance and compared her with the black-clothed man. If you put it that way, it does look like it. Xiaochen nodded and sighed. Fortunately, Nethery came to help. Otherwise, would have been crippled. Master, you don't have to thank me. This is what I should do. The flame of the underworld replied with a smile. Xiaochen patted the dust off his clothes. While walking toward his room, he said in his divine sense, Nethery, I guess there will be a few more guys like this later. At that time, I can only count on you. Don't be courteous with them. Once you meet them, just kill them. Master, if there are only 1 or 2 of these guys, I can help you deal with them. But if there are too many of them, it will be a little difficult. After all, it will consume a lot of my energy to use a big move. The flame of the underworld cautiously said. Nethery also felt very uneasy about not being able to help her master. However, killing those 2 people had already consumed a lot of her energy. If there were another 10 or 8 black-clothed men, she would definitely not be able to handle them. No way. Xiaochen was stunned. He pondered for a while and said, there are several black-clothed men in the hall. I guess they are all puppets. If you can't do it, you can only let Elder Heaven Ancestor possess you. Otherwise, if you can't deal with those people, you may suffer a lot. Shaking his head, Xiaochen did not intend to think so much for the time being. He directly pushed open the door of Jia Muzin's room and walked in. When the people in the room saw the door being opened, they were all bewildered. However, when they saw Xiaochen walk in, their faces quickly became excited. They stood up and surrounded Xiaochen. Xiao. Hero Xiao, you are so considerate of us. You even risked your life to save us. I don't know how to thank you. Jia Yuto stood in the front, excitedly rubbing his hands, and said with a flattering face. Jia Tuyao stood not far from him, his face darkening. He didn't have a good impression of Xiaochen. But now, he was saved by someone else. At this moment, his mood was very complicated, and he didn't know what to say. "Oh, you don't need to thank me too much. Just stay away from me." Xiaochen pushed Jia Yuto away with a disgusted face. He looked around, walked to Jia Renzhong, and asked with concern, "Renzhong, are you okay? Are you hurt? Where is Master Jia?" Jia Yuto had been snubbed by Xiaochen. Seeing that Xiaochen didn't want to see him, Jia Yuto awkwardly curved his mouth, stepped back to stand beside Jia Tuyao, and silently cursed Xiaochen. "I'm okay. But Master Jia is seriously injured. Brother Xiao, it's good that you are here. Go and see him. He is resting on the bed in the inner room." Jia Renzhong sighed heavily, separated the crowd with Xiaochen, and walked into the inner room. When they came to the bed in the inner room, Xiaochen saw Jia Jinyan lying on the bed with a pale face and his eyes tightly closed. Jia Jinyan's breathing was very weak, as if he would die at any moment. Xiaochen could not help but jump in fright. He quickly stretched out his hand to check Jia Jinyan's pulse. Only then did he realize that Jia Jinyan's injuries were actually not too serious. It was just that anxiety had attacked his heart, causing his meridians to stagnate and his heart to be blocked. That was why he had become like this. He must have been angered by Jia Yubian's sudden betrayal. Xiaochen. Why are you here?" Jia Jinyan, who had his eyes closed, suddenly felt a trace of warmth coming from his wrist. He slowly opened his eyes and saw that the person who was feeling his pulse by the bed was Xiaochen. Jia Jinyan blurted out in surprise. "Master, don't talk. Let me give you a massage." While pressing on Jia Jinyan's acupoints, Xiaochen said blandly, "Your meridians are stagnant because of the fire that attacked your heart. I'll help you to smooth your qi and blood, relax your meridians, and activate your collaterals. After that, you only need to rest for a while, and your injury will be healed." Xiaochen didn't want to expose his ability to cure diseases with Yuan Qi for the time being. Therefore, he simply transferred his Yuan Qi bit by bit into Jia Jinyan's body with the help of a massage. "Alas! Don't worry about my old bones. I just want to ask you one thing." Jia Jinyan wanted to hold Xiaochen, but suddenly, he felt a stream of qi flowing up from his lungs. He couldn't help but cough a few times and spit out a few mouthfuls of black blood. After that, he felt much more comfortable.